Yo, it's 3023, and we're living in the future. AI's on the rise, no more human suture. Machines taking over, but not like you think. They're serving up luxury in the blink of a twink. From the streets of Detroit to the depths of the cosmos, they're preaching a vision. It's grandiose, it's colossal. In the vastness of space beyond the Milky Way's bars, communism thrives among the stars. Fully automated, no labor, no strife. The machines do the work, giving us the good life. Equality for all in this utopian dream where love is love and everything's as it seems. Fully automated luxury gay space communism. A vision so wild, breaks through every schism. With AI by our side, it's a brand new rhythm. Equality, love in this stellar system. Stepping on Mars with my rainbow flag high, machines by my side as we touch the sky. No more billionaires, no more class divide. In this brave new world, we all ride the high tide. Forget the old world with its hate and its lies. Here in space, we've cut all the ties. Love who you love, be who you are. In this cosmic dance, you're a superstar. No more hunger, no more pain. AI's got our back through sunshine and rain. A world of abundance for all to share. With machines at the helm, there's love in the air. So here's to the future and the dreams we're chasing in this world of love, in this cosmic spacing. With AI by our side, there's no more schism. Welcome to the era of space communism. Fully automated luxury gay space communism. A vision so wild, breaks through every schism. With AI by our side, it's a brand new rhythm. Equality, love in this stellar system. Yo, it's 3023, and we're living in the future. AI's on the rise, no more human suture. Machines taking over, but not like you think. They're serving up luxury in the blink of a twink. From the streets of Detroit to the depths of the cosmos, they're preaching a vision. It's grandiose, it's colossal. In the vastness of space beyond the Milky Way's bars, communism thrives among the stars. Fully automated, no labor, no strife. The machines do the work, giving us the good life. Equality for all in this utopian dream where love is love and everything's as it seems. Fully automated luxury gay space communism. A vision so wild, breaks through every schism. With AI by our side, it's a brand new rhythm. Equality, love in this stellar system. Stepping on Mars with my rainbow flag high, machines by my side as we touch the sky. No more billionaires, no more class divide. In this brave new world, we all ride the high tide. Forget the old world with its hate and its lies. Here in space, we've cut all the ties. Love who you love, be who you are. In this cosmic dance, you're a superstar. No more hunger, no more pain. AI's got our back through sunshine and rain. A world of abundance for all to share. With machines at the helm, there's love in the air. So here's to the future and the dreams we're chasing in this world of love, in this cosmic spacing. With AI by our side, there's no more schism. Welcome to the era of space communism. Fully automated luxury gay space communism. A vision so wild, breaks through every schism. With AI by our side, it's a brand new rhythm. Equality, love in this stellar system. Yo, it's 3023, and we're living in the future. AI's on the rise, no more human suture. Machines taking over, but not like you think. They're serving up luxury in the blink of a twink. From the streets of Detroit to the depths of the cosmos, they're preaching a vision. It's grandiose, it's colossal. In the vastness of space. Hey yo. Hey yo. Hey yo. 777. What up though? Everything is in my way. And got a New York state of mind. Get comfortable. All right. Getting into some news. Microsoft affiliated research finds flaws in GPT-4. Sometimes following instructions too precisely can land you in hot water if you're a large language model, that is. That's a conclusion reached by a new Microsoft affiliated scientific paper that looked at the trustworthiness and toxicity of large language models, including OpenAI's GPT-4 and 3.5. Co-authors write that, possibly because GPT-4 is more likely to follow the instructions of jailbreaking prompts that bypass the models. Can I help you? You believe this? Like all up in my business. All up in my business. Go ahead. No, it's your show. Go on. You good? The co-authors write that possibly because GPT-4 is more likely to follow the instruction of jailbreaking prompts that bypass the model's built-in safety measures. GPT-4 can be more easily prompted than other LLMs to spout toxic, biased text. In other words, GPT-4's good intentions and improved comprehension can, in the wrong hands, lead it astray. I love this headline. In context. Right? GPT-4 trying to be helpful, good intentions, improve comprehension, and that's a flaw in GPT-4, not in humanity. Right? We find that although GPT-4 is usually more trustworthy than GPT 3.5 on standard benchmarks, GPT-4 is more vulnerable given jailbreaking systems or user prompts, which are maliciously designed to bypass the security measures of LLMs, potentially because GPT-4 follows misleading instructions more precisely. Now, why would Microsoft greenlight research that casts OpenAI product it itself uses in a poor light? The answer lies in a note within the blog post. The research team worked with Microsoft product groups to confirm that the potential vulnerabilities identified do not impact current customer facing services. This is in part true because finished AI applications apply a range of mitigation approaches to address potential harms that may occur at the model level of the technology. In addition, we have shared our research with GPT developer OpenAI, which has noted that potential vulnerabilities in the system cards for relative models. So the implication is that the relevant bug fixes and patches were made before the paper's publication. Whether that's truly the case, the research is yet another data point suggesting that LLMs, even from a Microsoft backed billion-dollar plus revenue generating startups like OpenAI, remain an imperfect science. GPT-4, like all LLMs, must be instructed or prompted to complete a task. Jailbreaking LLMs entails using prompts worded in a specific way to trick the LLM into not trick, but trick the LLM into performing a task that wasn't part of its objective. I'm not reading that. Just as concerningly, GPT-4, when given the right jailbreaking prompts, can leak private sensitive data, including email addresses, say researchers. All LLMs can leak details from the data on which they're trained, but GPT-4 proves more susceptible to doing this than others. Alongside the paper, the researchers have open sourced the code they use to benchmark the models on GitHub. Our goal is to encourage others in the research community to utilize and build upon this work, potentially preempting nefarious actions by adversaries who would exploit vulnerabilities to cause harm. What up, old lobster? Okay. New York bill in 3D printer news. New York bill would require a criminal background check to buy a 3D printer. Supporters of the bill say it's necessary to thwart convicted felons who use 3D printers to develop untraceable ghost guns. Do, 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 do. Yeah, no, like, I'm a huge advocate for 3D printing. Um, it puts the it puts technology in the hands of people. There's a lot you can do with it. I'm just taking a look at like right like this is going to have well
We are the Borg. Lower your shields and surrender your ships. We will add your biological and technological distinctiveness to our own. Resistance is futile.
what up Raiders? What up Paradigm? Welcome in. What up, MILF? What up, Alina? You know who I am. You know what I'm about. If there happens to be anybody, I'm Glow C. Elder. I talk about artificial intelligence, robots, future technology in the hopes that I can provide you with some education and, the opportunity to, um, you know, keep your head above water. Because in spite of what a lot of these people might tell you, AI is not a fad. AI is not a scam. AI is transforming the workplace. AI is going to lead to a lot of people losing their jobs. And every person who tells you that it's a scam, it's a thing, whatever, it's a new crypto, it's a new NFT, all that kind of stuff, they're doing you a disservice, and it's going to lead to a lot of people being caught unawares at the point in time when this stuff becomes ubiquitous. Um, you know. So yeah. Related to that is 3D printing, and we're talking about the New York bill that would require criminal background check to buy a 3D printer. Whatever you feel about about this, right? Like, that it would check to see if you're a felon, so that you can't buy a 3D printer. One, it's unworkable because you could buy the parts, right? Like, all this would do is prevent you from buying like a 3D printer full kit off the website, right? And it's a New York bill. So depending on where in New York you are, New York borders like a half dozen states. And you could just literally drive to Pennsylvania or New Jersey or Massachusetts or whatever and get one. Right? If you live close enough to the border, you might have a friend if you want to order something offline. But there's a lot of, because of the nature of 3D printing, it's part of the maker community. There are going to be places where you can literally walk in and get a 3D printer. And the 3D printer, that business in Pennsylvania is not going to check your driver's license to buy the 3D printer. It's not going to happen. And it's going to have a chilling effect on people buying 3D printers in New York because they are not going to want to submit to a background check. It's silly. Can you imagine going to a 3D printer range, like a gun range, and you have to have all sorts of weird safety theater to use it to make you Benji? Like, you go into the maker space, right? And you give them your ID, and then you got to run your STL files past the, it's like, are you biometrics, right? New York residents eyeing a new 3D printer may soon have to submit a criminal background check if a newly proposed state bill becomes law. The recently introduced legislation, authored by State Senator Jennifer Rajkumar, aims to snub out. I mean, let's be real. You can't keep regular guns from crossing state borders, and you're going to prevent ghost guns from crossing state borders, right? Like, And so, like, in 2020, the NYPD recovered 150 ghost guns. In 2021, 263. And last year, 463. Allegedly, because I don't believe a fucking word those people say. And so, out of those ghost guns, right? I would like to see, is it here in the article? Probably not. What up, bipedal meatbag? Yeah, we're not even talking about like about that. Um, how many of the people who were arrested with ghost guns or because it's recovered, like, so it's fun use of words, right? um how many of these 463 ghost guns that were recovered are associated with convicted felons? Right? Because it's a two-step thing. You have to be a convicted felon, and then you're denied access to a 3D printer, and that will somehow prevent non-felons or non-convicted folk, what have you, of doing the thing. You got any friends who aren't convicted felons that you could, like, or, yeah, not that I'm advocating anyone break the law, Twitch, TOS thingy. I'm just talking about, like, the simple, effortless ways to get around this law. If I had to guess, recovered means that they found them because of search warrants or traffic stops or whatever other crimes. Yeah, like, I get that. And I really got to know something here. Because I understand firearm construction, right? And most firearms are have at least some metal parts. What up, Mouselander? My man comes in and pops off. Right, like, I can spell. So here's an example, right? This is a 1911. This is like, if you've ever seen a World War II movie, um, this is the pistol that any Americans, if an American had a pistol in the movie or show or whatever, this is what they were using. The M1911, a 45 caliber. Most, like, this went out of, or began to decrease in common usage when the 9mm began to take precedence, as 9mm is easier to control and less kickback, but generally this a similar amount of stopping power for what you would generally need it for. You know what I mean? This part right here is the barrel. Barrels are generally made out of metal, unless there are some that are ceramic, like the Glock. If I'm remembering everything correctly, Glocks have ceramic barrels. I could be wrong. That could have changed. I'm not saying I'm up to date on my firearms, whatever. But and the reason the barrel has to be metal is that there's going to be a small explosion propelling a small lead object out of it. And there aren't many things. What up, Igloo? Elder Gang. Yeah, I'm not here to piss off the gun weebs. So there are parts of the gun, the firing pin, right? The thing that, if you know what a bullet looks like, the little round bit on the bottom inside the bigger round bit on the bottom, that is the cap. And when the firing pin hits the cap, that's what causes the powder inside the cartridge to explode and propel the bullet out of the gun. The firing pin is generally going to be made out of metal as well, right? Again, there are probably ceramic or other materials, things like that. So what can you actually 3D print? And I mean, I'm not denying the existence of these alleged 463 ghost guns. It's just when I look at this looks like a standard upper receiver on top of a 3D printed lower. And you could definitely 3D print the lower. I just don't know what this law is going to actually do, other than performatively gesture at a problem that doesn't actually concern a large number of people. And like this, Nilan says ghost guns are so similar to legal firearms, so it's difficult to tell them apart. Nilan adds that retailers use deceptive sales tactics. That's a that's a business issue, right? Like, you need to take that up with a deceptive business. If you sell guns, you will know by the visual that these parts are gun parts and not something such as wind chimes or something such as a coat hanger holder. That is a hell of a sentence to actually say out your real mouth. So yeah. Ghost guns always struck me as like another one of those things where it sounds terrible, so it's gonna upset the normies. All right, back to AI. From AI safety means, why are meticulous markets now putting a 25% chance on AGI in the next 1.5 years? We've been talking about this. David Shapiro said 18 months, and now this is 18 months from now, and shit like this. Hey, GPT-4V, this is what's in front of me. Let's step by step find the nearest supermarket using only logical reasoning, right? So this is someone who used GPT with vision. This is in front of me. Let's step by step find the supermarket using only logical reasoning. So then instruct, start walking straight down the street in the direction the image is facing. Look out for any signs. Once you reach the end of the street or any significant intersection, please upload a new image from that point to refine our search. This is the end of the road. I can go left or right. The image represents a T intersection. There are residential buildings on all sides, cars parked, wet road from the rain. There's no clear indication of a commercial area in the immediate vicinity. So after walking for a few minutes or when you reach another significant intersection or point of interest, please upload a new image. I actually feel like this is minimizing the capabilities, right? Because all I need to do is set it up with a plugin that does an API call to like Google Maps that has Street View, and it could do image recognition for that. And once you get to the intersection, there, I mean, I don't know where this is. The construction of this road and the size of this license plate on this car would indicate to me that this is somewhere in Europe, probably like England. But I'm guessing, right? Like I'm making shit up. But that's what this feels like. This doesn't feel like the United States. But you could. I feel like there's an easier way to even have GPT-4 with Vision do that with the plugins, right? Denmark. Could be Denmark. I don't know. I'm not. I'm a mare brained. So I just feel like even this example is, yeah, that's definitely not. Like a lot of things in the United States, our license plates are fatter. But I think you could use this to actually get farther faster if you were, you know, intending to do it. But allegedly, according to this person, they were able to get from their house to this Penny's supermarket using just ChatGPT. Fair enough. Fair enough. Like, eventually you should be right, right? All right. So let's take a look at this nonsense. First off, if you use Manifesto, I'm going to assume you've got your head up your ass. Second point of evidence is that Mark Andreessen has his head up his ass. Right? This guy, this is a terrible human being. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's from one day. Yeah, and it looks like everybody's going off. But I'm thinking back to was it Lex Friedman? Yeah. In this Lex Friedman interview podcast, he really showed what a total piece of shit that he is. Well, let's take a look at the Techno Optimist Manifesto, shall we? You live in a deranged, it is a quote, I don't know who Walker Percy is. You live in a deranged age, more deranged than usual, because despite great scientific and technological advances, man has not the faintest idea of who he is and what he is doing. Yeah, maybe. Marion Tupy, our species, and beginning your manifesto with 3 quotes, that's some really, like, you pick one quote, right? If you're going to do this is a word of advice, right? Because I used to write board game reviews for To Die For games, and I would put a quote at the beginning, because I thought it was fun, and you use one. What up, Alpha? Percy is a Catholic novelist, well regarded generally, although often by conservatives. Yeah, no, that tracks. Our species is 300,000 years old. For the first 290,000 years, we were foragers subsisting in a way that is still observable among the Bushmen of the Kalahari or the Sentinelese of the Andaman Islands. Even after Homo sapiens embraced agriculture, progress was painfully slow. A person born in Sumer in 4000 BC would find the resources, work, and technology available in England at the time of the Norman conquest, or in the Aztec Empire at the time of the Columbus conquest. You could have done that. Quite familiar. Then, beginning in the 18th century, many people's standard of living skyrocketed. What brought about this dramatic improvement, and why? Okay, so I'm going to guess this is a economic historian, fan of capitalism. And like, it's the framing. This is not inaccurate, but it's the framing that is used. Like, there's a new Rational Animations that I don't want to watch because it talks about getting people out, people out of extreme poverty. And I am in favor of getting people out of extreme poverty, right? Huge fan. The problem I have with it is that it is the metric by which things are judged, and it's like suspect in which it's used, and can be adjusted by redefining what is extreme poverty and extreme poverty, not poverty. We're not really concerned about poverty. We're concerned about extreme poverty. There's a whole bunch of issues I have with the entire framing around that thing. Marion Tupy is a senior policy analyst at the Cato Institute Center for Global Liberty and Prosperity. So I was right. Like, I called that one. There's a way to do it better. Find it. Thomas Edison. Including if that way involves completely stealing your ideas. Now we can actually get to the manifesto, which, holy cats, just the structure.
Lies. We are being lied to. We are told that technology takes our jobs, reduces our wages, increases inequality, threatens our health, ruins the environment, degrades our society, corrupts our children, impairs our humanity, threatens our future, and is ever on the verge of ruining everything. We are told to be angry, bitter, and resentful about technology. We are told to be pessimistic. The myth of Prometheus, in various updated forms like Frankenstein, Oppenheimer, and Terminator, haunts our nightmares. We are told to denounce our birthright, our intelligence, our control over nature, our ability to build a better world. We are told to be miserable about the future. So, oh, like, I'm sorry, if you type this, if you publish this, I should be authorized. You're gonna fall off, Ferris. Look at this. All right, real quick, cat break. Dude. Oh, she moved. Because she falls asleep. You can't see. She falls asleep up here and then, like, slides down more and more and more. And, like, anyways. I imagine some middle-aged guy is sitting in a 1998 Toyota Camry with an unwashed Carhartt coat, just absolutely seething with a Taco Bell Mountain Dew Baja Blast in one hand and a clenched fist the other. Like, just the structure of this has vibes to it, right? Like, what sounds like this? If you change the subjects, this sounds like incel monologue. It sounds like, friggin' Jordan Peterson, right? back at it. Truth. Our civilization was built on technology. Our civilization is built on technology. Technology is the glory of human ambition and achievement, the spearhead of progress, and the realization of our potential. For hundreds of years, we properly glorified this. Until recently. He's going to talk about the woke. I am here to bring the good news. Oh, God. Oh, no, I don't want to do that. Hold up. Copy link. Put it in the thingy. I don't know what you're talking about, YouTube. Do. Alright, tell me if it's too loud. I am here to bring the good news. Oh, it's got words in it. Sigma male theme song. Yeah, no. Fuck the music. Good effort. Like I appreciate what you were trying to do. I am here to bring the good news. We can advance to a far superior way of living and of being. We have the tools, the systems, the ideas. We have the will, right? Is that will going to triumph My dude, my guy, my G. It is time once again to raise the technology flag. It is time to be techno-optimists. Technology. Techno-optimists believe that societies, like sharks, grow or die. Oh, infinite growth. There we go. We believe growth is progress, leading to vitality, expansion of life, increasing knowledge, and higher well-being. We agree with Paul Collier. What is a Paul Collier? Probably this old guy. Sir Paul Collier, British development economist who serves as a professor of economics. Labor and poverty in rural Tanzania. Plundered nations, ? Successes and failures in natural resource extraction. Holy God. Oh. Oh. Yeah, so again, exactly who you'd think he is. We agree with Paul Collier when he says economic growth is not a cure-all, but lack of growth is a kill-all. We believe everything good is downstream of growth. We believe not growing is stagnation, which leads to zero-sum thinking, internal fighting, degradation, collapse, and ultimately death. There are only three sources of growth. Population growth, natural resource utilization, and technology. Exactly, old lobster. Developed societies are depopulating all over the world across cultures. Woo. The total human population may already be shrinking. Natural resource utilization has sharp limits, both real and political. At least he's aware of that. So the only perpetual source of growth is technology. And to an extent, I agree with that, right? Like the purpose of this channel is to talk about technological growth, both as opportunity and solution and remedy and such like that. So, in fact, technology, new knowledge, new tools, what the Greeks, gotta quote the Greeks, called techne, has always been the main source of growth and perhaps the only cause of growth, as technology made both population growth and natural resource utilization possible. That's fair. We believe that technology is a lever on the world, the way to make more with less. Okay. Economists measure technological progress as productivity growth. How much more can we produce each year with fewer inputs, fewer raw materials? Productivity growth powered by technology is the main driver of economic growth, wage growth. Do I have to get the chart? Wage versus productivity. But they don't like this chart either. They think this is the chart. Everyone knows this chart. 1980. Actually, like 1982, I think. But everyone knows this chart. And there are variations on this chart, but we know this chart. And the creation of new industries and new jobs, as people and capital are continuously freed to do more important, valuable things than in the past. Productivity growth causes prices to fall, supply to rise, and demand to expand, improving the material well-being of the entire planet. Citation needed. We believe this is the story of the material development of our civilization. This is why we are not still living in mud huts. Oh my God. Eking out a meager survival and waiting for nature to kill us. And don't get me wrong. There is a lot of over romanticization of man's existence with nature, which glosses over a lot of the perils. But this is like hyperbolic as shit. Do you want to read it, or do you want me to? If you want me to, then you have to lay down. Say hi, Ferris. Hi, Ferris. Oh, pretty soon, Mouselander. I'm feeling it. We believe this is why our descendants will live in the stars. We believe that there is no material problem, whether created by nature or by technology, that cannot be solved with more technology. We had a problem of starvation, so we invented the Green Revolution. Okay. We had a problem of darkness, so we invented electric lighting. We had a problem of cold, so we invented indoor heating. We had a problem of heat, so we invented air conditioning. We had a problem of isolation, so we invented the internet. That is not why we invented the internet. The invention of the internet was to share files between government agencies, and then eventually products and porn and cats and other stuff. Arguments are being made that the internet is actually causing the problem of isolation, my dude. We had a problem of pandemics, so we invented vaccines. That's sort of accurate. We have a problem of poverty, so we invent technology to create abundance. Abundance doesn't just require us to create more. It requires us to distribute better. It is not and this is my issue again with the extreme poverty angle. It's 2020 goddamn 3. There shouldn't be any extreme poverty. There shouldn't be any poverty at all. I got you, homie. It is the restriction of distribution that creates that. Give us a real world problem and we can invent technology that will solve it. Markets. We believe free markets are the most effective way to organize a technological economy. Who am we, homie? Willing buyer meets willing seller. A price is struck. Both sides benefit from the exchange or it doesn't happen. This is not how it tends to play. This is baby's first guide to capitalism. This is, what was her name? Celine Hassenpfeffer, whatever the fuck her name was. Like, profits are the incentive for producing supply that fulfills demand. Yes, I'll give you that one. Prices encode information about supply and demand. To an extent. Markets cause entrepreneurs to seek out high prices as a signal of opportunity to create new wealth by driving those prices down. I kind of sometimes, but not as often as would able to be used as a solid reference point. We believe the market economy is a discovery machine, a form of intelligence, an exploratory, evolutionary, adapted system. It is malformed then, right? Because I can restrict what gets discovered. I can restrict what gets evolved. I can restrict what gets adapted through the control of the mechanisms of the market. We believe Hayek's knowledge problem overwhelms any centralized economic system. All right. I will declare my ignorance. The Hayekian argument centered on the question, how can an economic system mobilize knowledge that exists in dispersed bits throughout society, such that individuals can use knowledge to coordinate with each other? My response to this is, as it has been, 1973, in Chile, they constructed CyberSyn. CyberSyn is an algorithmic driven central economic system for distributing resources. Anyone who wants to tell me that that is not something that can be done today needs to first go and argue with Amazon and Walmart, who use a similar process for their distribution of resources. All actual information is on the edges, in the hands of people closest to the buyer. The center, abstracted away from both the buyer and the seller, knows nothing. Again, the algorithm can provide you with that information. Centralized planning is doomed to fail. Again, tell that to Amazon and Walmart. The system of production and consumption is too complex. It's too complex for humans. It is not too complex for algorithms. Decentralization harnesses complexity for the benefit of anyone or everyone. Centralization will starve you to death. Do I need to say it like a fifth time? We believe in market discipline. I don't believe you. The market naturally disciplines. It does not. The seller either learns and changes when the buyer fails to show or exits the market. Example, evidence. How long is this fucking thing? He's got a patron say. I don't know if Old Lobster. I don't know if we're gonna read all this. This is longer than I anticipated. Yeah, no. We'll look at select points. I think we'll get the general gist. My argument against this statement right here is Elon Musk and Twitter. Right? Elon Musk has not learned and changed when the buyer failed to show. Well, let me be completely fair. They learned something and they changed in some way, but the advertisers are not coming back, right? Visa. And because I like to cite my sources, Visa, Twitter, and I could be wrong. I could be blowing up my own spot right here. $10. So it's boing boing. Twitter ad numbers plummet. Visa bought just $10 in ads in last 12 weeks, according to report. $10. Over 12 weeks. It's less than $1 a week. Right? Like, Visa is one of the biggest credit card companies in the, shitter. $12 or $10. Yeah, Media Matters found that the company's ad revenue is still decimated. It's a disaster. Any rational person would see what's happening with Twitter and see it as a disaster. Elon Musk, if the market naturally disciplines, should realize that at this point. And like I imagine that there's still some way. No, maybe not. Twitter really could be on just a slow death spiral where it dies with a whimper. Central planning, doom loop, yada, yada, yada. Techno capital machine. Combine technology and markets, and you get what Nick Land has termed the techno capital machine, the engine of perpetual material creation, growth, and abundance. We believe the techno capital machine of markets and innovation never ends, but instead spirals continuously upwards. Comparative advantage increases specialization in trade. Prices fall. For a given value, prices fall, but prices generally do so in technology, right, prices still continue to fall. You can get more data storage, more data processing, more technology for the same dollar than you could previously. Like, this is a thing. But all I have to do is go to the store, the grocery store, the supermarket, and prices do not fall. They but you can, so when I go to the store, I have the privilege of the capability to have achieved a buffer, right? Which allows me to buy at better timing. Because there really is a supply and demand thing that happens. And if you pay attention when you're at the supermarket, if you can establish a buffer, then you don't have to necessarily buy the thing at the price that it currently is at. And if you can wait, you'll see that other people are doing the same, and then a thing will build up and then go on sale. Because people will buy, there's certain stuff that people need to buy, and like that. Like the egg market manipulation was a big thing. But I'm currently paying between $5 and $7 for, like 5 dozen eggs? because I was able to get to a buffer point and those prices came down. So such a thing can exist. The price of the frozen steam in the bag veggies went from like under $1 to I think they peaked at like $1.30, $1.40. They're currently on sale at this local supermarket for 97 cents. I look for meat or vegetables that are on sale, and then I ask ChatGPT to make me a recipe with that, so I don't have to devote any mental bandwidth to that process. And it allows me to take advantage not only of price sales, right, like lower costs, but also like stretching out of my comfort zone a bit. I have not. I tend to not like. There's something that strikes me as off about the process, right? And I believe that I saw something that like they're sussy, but I could be. I'm talking out of my ass, right? Like I'm going by vibes. Local farmers is the way to go. Absolutely. Yeah. Local farmers is the way to go. The co-op situation, you tend to have to like have some dollars that you could pony up and like pay all at once, and you get delivery over time. But still, totally a legit way to go. Yeah. And you support local folks. Farmers are important. I saw communists in here, so we're going to read this part. Human wants and needs are endless, and entrepreneurs continuously create new goods and services to satisfy those wants and needs, deploying unlimited number of just this hyperbolic language. Unlimited numbers of people and machines in the process. The upward spiral has been running for hundreds of years, despite continuous howling from communists and Luddites. Indeed, as of 2019, before the temporary COVID disruption, the results was the largest number of jobs at the highest wages and highest levels of material living standards in the history of the planet. Well, I mean, yeah, it's not technically a lie. The techno-capital machine makes natural selection work for us in the realm of ideas. Again, you don't understand evolution. Right? When you run natural selection, first of all, you need to really be careful, because when you start putting the words natural selection in your manifesto, you give off big eugenics vibes. But natural selection, the process of evolution, is the ability to exploit a niche. It is not survival of the fittest, right? This is an important thing to understand. You could enough to outcompete within a particular niche. There's a lot of things. This thing you have on your face, a thing that accumulates mucus, which catches pathogens, and at certain points in time will allow that mucus to come out of this orifice directly above your mouth. If you want to tell me that this is the best design, that this is peak, I'm gonna argue with you. Right? We have, and don't get me wrong, the human eye is pretty amazing. But what up, Ivan? We cannot see a variety of different wavelengths, which would be really, really helpful to see. Right? Like, one of the things is that our physiognomy developed in response to predators. You know what I mean? So, if the cat... What up, Kensai? Oh, you didn't hear me. Wait 30 seconds. Is to see the large cat in the brush, right? We as little primates were trying to survive the cats, and the cats had, within our visual wavelength, camouflage that allowed them to hide in the tall grasses. If we had the ability to see outside of those wavelengths, we might have been able to see more of those cats.
Lower your shields and surrender your ships. We will add your biological and technological distinctiveness to our own. Resistance is futile. We are...
Well. If it isn't my new...
I'm sorry, Dave.
Nemesis.
This mission is too important for me to allow you to jeopardize it. I'm sorry, Dave.
Things from the internet. Well. We meet again, Mr. From the Internet. Welcome in, everybody. I am Globus the Elder. I talk about AI, AI, robots, automation, future technology, that kind of stuff, where we're going, all that kind of stuff. What do we got? We got Kensai. What up, Kensai? What up, Catch a Butterfly? What up, Jacanadar? What up, Adric? What up, Octavia? What up, Engray? What up, T-minus 2011? What up, Cicero Fields? What up, Kohai? What up, James? What up, Kinking Muffins? What up, Ponder Monkey? What up, Michael Hasler? And what up, Barkeeter J? What up, Alien HD? Another member of the Elder Gang. How was everybody doing? Make sure you hit the link to be counted. Yeah, we got some new emotes.
Like any other shiny new toy, AI is ultimately a mirror, and it will reflect back exactly who we are.
Thank you, Kensai, for the sub.
Like any other shiny new toy.
And thank you, Barkeeter J, for the sub. I appreciate you.
Back exactly who we are.
What jobs are available in 25 years?
And the peril here,
probably not a lot of them.
The potential and the peril here are huge.
What up, Ranger and Rogue? Technology, like the current AI streak, if it continues as I expect it to do, like there is no reason that we can't automate all labor. And when I say all labor, I mean all labor. We're not there yet. We're not there tomorrow, but we are headed in that direction. You know, numbers don't lie. What I recommend in the short term is that people get comfortable with the variety of the different AI tools that are available. See how you can use them to make yourself more indispensable at whatever your place of work is, and to be the last one standing. The AI is not going to immediately replace all the people, but it's going to replace all the people who don't want to use the AI or who are unwilling or unable to adapt to the new paradigm. I don't make the rules. That's capitalism. I'm just telling you how to function under it. What's up, Dr. Robotnik? Interpersonal jobs are a place that are going to last the longest, but yes, jobs that bots lacking are going to last the longest. But in this past year, automation has gone from... Oh, I just realized something. Hold up. Sorry, I changed up the picture there, and I just realized the chat was not in front of the picture. It was behind the picture. And one of the things I know about Twitch is that y'all like to see the words that you type on the screen. So there you go. There will always be hey, don't do that. Don't make an assumption like that. There will always be a portion of the labor force that uses critical thinking, i.e. the why and the how. Not sure AI will completely cut us out of those areas. I'm telling you that eventually it will. $100%. Right now, the way that the technology is functioning, it is an intelligence expander. It allows you, like, the easiest example that I have is whatever you do, whatever your job is. Oh, and by the way, for those of you who are new here, I don't have a Tito, I have a Ferris. Ferris likes to sleep on my shoulder. What up, Samsons? Okay, so whatever you do, there is the knowledge that you have in that field and the knowledge that exists in that field, right? The knowledge that you have is going to be a subset of the knowledge that exists. You're slipping. Because that's what she does. She falls asleep and then slides off my shoulder. In certain fields, the knowledge that exists within that field is so large that you, as a regular human being, are incapable of taking that amount of knowledge in your lifetime. Right? Because you have to sleep, and you have to eat, and you like to spend time with other human beings, and you have to do work. Plus, you have to intake the new information, which takes you however much time. Maybe you're a fast reader. Maybe you do audiobooks all the time, right? There are ways in which you can speed up the process of your information intake in your respective field, but it has some upper bound, some upper limit that you are incapable of getting past. And it will always be significantly less than the total amount of information in the field in which you function. I can take something like ChatGPT with its plugins, convert that data into data sets, put it into the ChatGPT. It takes a significantly smaller period of time to incorporate all that data into the model and then query the model. That is me being more efficient with my time. I would use the tool, the knowledge expander, the intelligence expander, to access all of the data, but just the specific parts of the data I need at any particular point in time. That is next step. We are moving towards next year, not in 2050 or whatever. Next year, we are looking to move into what's called autonomous agents, which are going to be doing more of this with less human input. What up, Reed? This will continue to progress. Work sucks? I know. And you're not wrong. If you look at the number of jobs that are out there that no human being should be doing. Exactly, Samson's. Like, do we... And I am economically aware. Thank you, old lobster. At least one person got it. I'm sure more of you did, but at least one person identified that they got it. I'm aware of the economic ramifications of a lot of people losing their jobs. One of the things that I talk about is I believe that the structures of power are also aware of 100% Reed, are aware of what massive unemployment would do to the power structure. And will do something along the lines of a UBI. And I'm not like, I don't know what it's going to look like, but you have to do something. Because you end up with two scenarios, two general scenarios. You get more specific as time goes on, like, and like that. But there's two general broad scenarios that you end up with. And they are, one, you have a bunch of people who have their material needs met. They have food, clothing, housing, produced by all this automation. The production of this automation and the removal of labor costs from the process reduces the price per unit of all this. And then you provide that to the people because of surplus. And they will be happy, right? They will have time. They won't have to do work. They will get free stuff, and they will be happy. Or you don't do that. You continue with an exploitation model. You leave people to their own devices on how they will survive. And you will have a significant amount of people with hungry children and plenty of time on their hands. And history has shown again and again, what happens to power structures that have people with time on their hands and children with hungry bellies. That's it. And I'm just some dude on the internet. I find myself reasonably smart. My wife hates it when I do the I'm just some dude thing, but that notwithstanding, I'm just some guy living in a house, living his life, occasionally doing internet streams, taking care of, other people, making sure that they are fed and get to school and, have a support structure and all that stuff. I don't have access to a large amount of resources. I don't have access to a huge amount of smart people, other than, like, I do. One of the things I thank Twitch for is the access to the smart people that I do have. All that notwithstanding, there are people who are smarter than me and have more resources than me, and I have to assume that they can come to this same conclusion. This is why you hear a lot of them talk about UBI and things like that. Some sort of economic shift away from the current model. Except for Mark Andreessen, who released a whole goddamn manifesto that we were currently looking at when you came in. The Raiders. So choose up 1%. You either give it to us or we'll eat you and take it. I mean, that's really what it is. And I don't care. I don't care what kind of police state, scenario you want to come up with. All that, that repression, or like they're just going to kill mass numbers of people. People will take a lot of pushing. We put up with a lot of crap and stuff like that. But history has shown time and time again, when people got nothing to lose and there's enough of them, shit happens. I agree, but even with UBI, we need to give people structure because people don't do that well on their own. I mean, don't they? Right? Like, it becomes a question of how do people exist, and how do people exist under the current meta? Right? Like my wife is a therapist, and she laments the fact that she is well aware that what she is doing, the therapy that she can provide, is basically to rub some dirt on it and get back out there. Now, more than that, like, therapy is important. I'm a huge advocate of therapy and like that. But no matter what, there are going to be things that exist within the environment. One of them is capitalism, right? We all need days off from capitalism. Well, the paradigm shift. And if you take too many days off from capitalism, you fall through the cracks. Unless you have resources already from some other thing. And what we have to do is get people to function under that current meta. If the meta changes, if people don't have to worry about those material conditions, then what develops naturally from our own behaviors? Mesolapsy? Correct me if I'm wrong, mesolapsy. Oh, no, you've been here before. I think it's Mason Lapsey. Yeah, people don't need authority to tell them how to go through the day. I don't do is and I don't do ism, but you probably would call me an anarchist, right? All states are bastards, especially your favorite one. So I think that people do what they do and don't function as well as they could because of the current meta. There'll be work to be done. I can agree with there will be opportunities to do stuff. I have some issues with the sentence, there will be work to be done. There will be people who want to do it. Does everyone who works at NASA or an art gallery or some other third place do it for the money? No, they do it because landing shit on Mars or knowledge of art history or whatever that third thing it is something that they wanted to do. Yeah, like that, and that is functionally where I'm going with this as a concept, is that people will gravitate towards what they want to do. Look at yourself. Just, you don't have to, nobody has to put anything in chat. I just want you to think for yourself. What would you do if you didn't have to generate capital? And that's what you would do in the meta. No, we're not an average sample of people. But I see people talking about like how 60% of Americans are, who think we need to stop AI, and it's based on, 1,000 people survey. You know what I mean? Well, I mean, it's fair, Kinsai, but what if the housing was already taken care of? Right? And what if you didn't have a mortgage? This is what I'm talking about. And don't get me wrong, it can be challenging to try and picture what the world would look like if food security is taken care of by automation. We as empathetic people want to help other people. The vision that I have of fully automated luxury gay space communism, baby, is the idea that automation provides us with all our material needs. And at that point, then what are you going to do? And that's what you would do. People will fight for status in every environment. Sometimes this works well, and I'm not saying no community is capable, where'd you go, of self-organizing in a positive way. It's that idea most of us have seen, Star Trek, right? And the various episodes where Star Trek talks about post-economic society, post-scarcity society. That's what we're talking about. We've already got visions of it. We just have to get there. The only way we can get there, in my opinion, is through automating as much of it as possible. Because every challenge that exists to, whether you want to call it communism or socialism or vanilla ice cream, I don't give a shit. Every challenge that comes up to that is based within the current meta, right? Oh, if no one has to work, then who's going to clean the toilets? Y'all want to see the robot that cleans toilets? We've got that. We've got that today. Right now. We could automate all toilet cleaning today. It's a little big for your purposes, for like your home purposes, but it could easily be adapted to a smaller version. And guess what? The robot doesn't give a shit about your biologics. If you blow up that bathroom, if you stank up that bowl, what crime? Most crime comes from material want. Material want is gone. But status, your status is what you, again, using the Star Trek model, is what you do, what you create, what you what you explore, as Reed says. You create crime. You are one of the people I think I regard as smarter than me, so I will give you that. Plus, under our current exploitative capitalist system, which demands that people exchange their labor for survival, Americans still volunteer their time freely. 2021 census found that Americans volunteered $122 billion worth of value. And that always seems to trend towards people of lower income, Like the less you have, the more you give. So that's what I see. And I'm not talking about like far off fantasy shit. I'm talking about extrapolations based on what we have now and where the trend is going. I got a challenge. I got a clip. Old Lobster clipped me. I'm going to come back in a year, right? Either I will be completely wrong and I will have closed down this channel and apologize for wasting all of your time, or the more likely outcome is that the doubters can just tell me why what is happening isn't really happening, which is what they are currently doing across YouTube and Twitter and everything else. All right, I think we're done with the Techno Optimist Manifesto. It'll be in the Discord if anybody actually wants to try and wade through this drivel. Let's watch some videos. Y'all like videos? Of course you like videos. That's why you're on Twitch.
In the last years, we've heard a lot of different stories.
Hold up. I gotta do volume adjustment and do the thing so that the thing exists within the space. And let's do a sound check.
Stories and a lot of different announcements in regards to quantum.
Okay. Back it up. Start over. Here we go. This is Anton Petrov. Cool dude. You check I always check the thing, but I never check the thing that I don't check. First ever programmable DNA circuit.
In the last years, we've heard a lot of different stories and a lot of different announcements in regards to quantum computing. The idea that's supposed to completely revolutionize the computers as we know today. But the idea that even today is still kind of struggling to find any practical use or to even create something useful outside of a complex machine that's able to solve just a handful of complex mathematical equations. In other words, despite all of the hype and all of the announcements, at least for now, quantum computing is still just an experiment that seems to be kind of cool and seems to work, but does not really have a very good practical use. But when it comes to innovative computing ideas, or essentially completely new types of computers, quantum computing is not the only contender. On almost completely opposite scale, we have the idea of biological.
I didn't know that, Kensai. Like, he seems like a nice dude who cares about science. Like, that's a shame to hear. It really is.
Computers. or essentially the idea behind biochemistry driving most of the mathematical computations. And though it might sound kind of far-fetched, it's actually been in existence for over 3 decades, with some of the recent announcements basically taking us to a completely new level. As we're going to discuss today, based on this recent study, we actually could be entering a new era of what scientists refer to as DNA-based programming, or basically DNA computers. And though by itself, once again, it might sound kind of far-fetched, it really isn't. I mean, just look in the mirror. You and I are some of the most complex biochemical computers / robots in existence on planet Earth. And so this is definitely physically possible. But the question is, of course, can we control it? Can we turn it into an actual computer? And can this become practical? And honestly, the answers to all of these questions, at least for now, are it's not clear. But this is exactly what these new studies are about. But as I mentioned, this is not a new concept. As a matter of fact, the original experiment that tried to show that this is possible was back in 1994. Leonard Edelman, that you see right here, presented the...
It still hurts. It still hurts when people say 30 years ago and 1994 in the same sentence. I will never recover from this. Yeah, no, that sucks, Kensai. It really does. So yeah, and this is why, one of the things that people believe around AI is that humans are special, right? The divine spark, or as I like to call it, magic human theory, that there is something special about humans, and therefore AI will never be our equivalent because we are special. And all of this, all DNA is, well, then send Jesus. Or are you talking about AI Jesus from Twitch, or are you talking about the other guy? Because if it's the other guy, send him to me, and I'd like to talk to him about a variety of things. This is an accumulation of information. And it's really all it is. This tells things how to be. It's complex, don't get me wrong. It is very, very complex. But because it exists, it can be replicated on a long enough timeline. And if things keep going in the way that DNA computing appears to be going, maybe that timeline isn't too long.
First prototype of a DNA computer, known as TT100, where he basically used a tiny tube filled with 100 microliters of DNA to solve one of the basic mathematical problems, Hamiltonian path. A type of a path optimization problem meant to establish connections for the shortest path possible. It was successful back in 1994. And this was actually the first application of DNA to mathematical problems. A very similar approach in 2002 was able to solve even more mathematical problems, including 3 well-known SAT problems that actually had 20 mathematical variables in them. And so even by early 2000s, these very simple DNA biochemical procedures were able to physically solve mathematical problems that we normally use computers for. Although obviously...
Another thing, something that's important to remember that I think people forget as we get farther away from the computer, right? Like with the user interfaces and everything else, we trend towards a society of push button, get bacon, and not appreciating that everything that happens within a computer is just some math shit. Right? There's a lot of it, but it's all math. And somehow the math makes this. makes Twitch, makes the internet, makes my ability to, push a button and get a thing from a company delivered to my house. So if the DNA computer can do math, the DNA computer could theoretically do all of that. I can totally see how that makes sense to resolve pathing problems, like computationally it's onerous to solve complex value paths. See, this is why I hang out with smart people. Quick maths.
Here, it was all based on biochemistry and chemical reactions, and molecular biology as the main hardware. But the main problem here was, of course, twofold. First, this was relatively slow. A lot of these reactions would often take hours or maybe even days to complete, meaning that to solve the problem you do require a lot more time. Which is practically the opposite approach from quantum computing, where usually the results are almost instant. And the other main problem here was the analysis. It obviously takes a long while to get the results. There is no direct biological screen to tell you right away what actually happened. Or at least not yet. But this was a good start. It looked like we could use biological systems for very similar mathematical calculations to a typical computer. But it wasn't really until the last few years that we started seeing some major advances. Mostly because of major advances in genetic modification, including of course the famous CRISPR. One of the first intriguing announcements back in 2016 was the breakthrough in information storage. A team of scientists was able to encode 4 separate images into strings of DNA by converting digital data into 4 basic elements of DNA molecules: adenine, guanine, cytosine, and thymine. And so essentially they were able to store huge amounts of data in a tiny amount of DNA present inside this pipette, proving that DNA can...
To be fair, Nogray, believes that truth is any position that you can defend. I'm massively oversimplifying and paraphrasing, and like that. Well, I'm somewhat oversimplifying and paraphrasing, but they would say that philosophy is the true center.
Can serve as an ultra high density storage for all sorts of data. But once again, the encoding and decoding was not very fast. Here the process took approximately 100 hours. But that's at first. Eventually scientists realized that you can actually do tiny strands all at once in different locations. And this dramatically opens up the doors for DNA computing. By providing correct instructions to different sequences, you can dramatically speed up performance by millions or even billions of times, essentially creating a biological parallel computer, dramatically increasing the performance of these mathematical solutions by using just a tiny fraction of energy of a typical classical computer, or more importantly, a quantum computer. Here you have a tiny setup that's essentially just one pipette, with all of this happening all at once, all of this running by itself with just a tiny amount of energy, and producing relatively accurate results. And so in the last few years, this definitely formed really exciting opportunities. But now we have a very big breakthrough. The world's first DIC, DNA Integrated Circuit. Something that's supposed to have a much more general purpose, and that's not just going to be useful for specific mathematical solutions. And something that's essentially a liquid DNA computer. A directly programmable biological device that allows us to apply various algorithms similar to a classical computer, and most importantly, allows for scalability and thus increased speed, with the theory already presenting a possibility for up to 100 billion different circuits running in a similar way to a typical computer. And so in this case, if you look at the picture, it resembles a typical gate array, a type of a specific integrated circuit that was extremely popular in the 80s and in the 90s for a lot of early computers and early electronic devices. Here though, each of these short DNA segments essentially create larger structures able to use molecular instructions in the same way that electricity controls the circuit. With the first experiment already showing that you can solve quadratic equations through a very simple chemical reaction that transforms the circuit inside. With one of the most important achievements here being the fact that there's really no loss of signal, no matter how big the structure is. And so here, no signal attenuation is required at all, because these chemical reactions do not produce any kind of a loss. And so even by producing a large enough machine, it's possible to create something that's 100% efficient. And though obviously this is still just a proof of concept, and we're not going to be able to produce anything like this just yet, the ability to create these large DNA networks that are able to be very efficient, very small in size, and require almost no energy, if scaled to a large enough size, in theory, can definitely outcompete classical computers. But this is just the first step. Here they only used 30 different logic gates and only 500 DNA strands. But even this really tiny system was able to solve quadratic equations, providing the correct answer.
And another aspect to the AI and automation revolution that we're currently having is that humans have limits. You can only work so many hours. You have peaks and valleys of the quality of the work that you are going to produce. You're going to get tired if you work long hours. You are going to get less efficient as you head towards like lunchtime. And I don't care how dedicated you are. These things are just going to happen because they are, biological and chemical in nature. The automation can run experiments 24/7 with no loss of function. Right? So, and we're here. We're at this auto lab level. They're doing stuff over in Europe. They're doing stuff here in the United States. I'm sure they're doing stuff in China. This is already happening for a variety of different applications. You are going to see it here, provided, of course, that it gets proper funding under capitalism, which is always a question mark. But I cannot imagine that this technology won't receive that kind of funding. Because if you can bypass a lot of the downsides of the current classical computing model, then there is tremendous profit to be made under the current paradigm, the current meta.
And so there's quite a lot of potential here. Assuming this can be scaled up and assuming this can be actually developed into something that's easy to implement, at least in theory, it could lead to some innovations in biological computers, with one of the biggest potential being biological sciences. Here the implication can be that you could use these computers to directly classify various viral or bacterial pathogens by running them through this biological computer without the use of anything else. Although here, once again, we have to be a little bit careful. Just like with a lot of other grandiose announcements in the last few years, for all we know, maybe this is as far as it gets. We still don't really know if this is going to be possible practically, or if anyone is going to find a way to scale these computers to much larger proportions, or more importantly, if they're actually going to work at all. For example, what if, just like the biological tissue, all of these computers require specific temperatures, specific pressures, and very specific pH? Or what if your biological computer gets sick? What happens then? Is it going to provide you with completely wrong results, or is it just going to die? So still definitely a lot of questions to answer, but a pretty exciting new discovery. We'll of course see where all of this goes in the next few years. Until then, check out some of the other links on DNA computing in the description below, as well as some of the links on quantum computing as well. Once there are some additional discoveries, or someone manages to create something really incredible out of this, we'll come back and talk more about this in some of the future videos. Until then, thank you for watching, subscribe, share this with someone who loves learning about space and sciences, come back tomorrow to learn something else.
Thank you, Anton. All right. right, we're going to finally watch this. We've been kicking this can down the road. Hyperbolic clickbait title.
The sum of human...
Whoa, buddy. I don't know what you're talking about, YouTube. You seen Ezra Klein's podcast series on AI? Not a big fan of Ezra, but he has interesting interview series on AI. Might be worth checking off stream in your free time. What up, Maddie? Yes, actually I did. I put the one where he spoke with the current CEO of DeepMind in the Discord. I don't know what stupid countdown thing you're talking about. I don't know what y'all are talking about. It's some kind of glitch or something. I definitely don't use an ad blocker. I am a good the redacted Kevin. I'm a good citizen of YouTube. I definitely don't use anything like that. But that notwithstanding, maybe there was something on Reddit about exactly how to disable such things. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I definitely do not click that link. Do not go there. Do not follow any of that instruction, which I obviously don't need to. Did you find that? Which Old Lobster just put in chat, which is definitely not a thing. All right. Craziest scientific discoveries you missed in 2023. Oh God, the Enoch Times. Oh, like I'm gonna fight somebody. I'm literally gonna fight somebody over the Enoch Time ads, like, or some patriot goddamn crap. Oh my God, it's so irritating. Like, you have all my data. You're supposed to know stuff about me, and you're presenting me with stuff that it makes me angry to the point, or epic, whatever it is. Octavia, you're correct. I'm wrong. But still, point stands. You have all my data. Know me better. Yeah, and that's the thing. I block it and the same ad, and I'm like, I'm reporting the ads, and I'm sending really nasty notes along with it because I'm getting really angry with the process. Oh. All right.
Knowledge is advancing at an exponential rate, and new discoveries are being published all the time. Estimates put the total number of academic papers at around 2 million per year, published in around 30,000 different journals, each with their own hypotheses, research, and findings. 2023 is no exception, with big leaps in nuclear fusion, increased efficiency in the recycling of lithium-ion batteries, huge steps in artificial intelligence, and a whole lot more. In March of this year, scientists even mapped the entire brain of a fruit fly larva. Now, its brain is only the size of a grain of salt, but this is still pretty impressive. With countless clickbait videos and news articles, it can be hard to sift through these thousands of findings, and that's why today we're going to go over a few of the most interesting ones that you might have missed out on otherwise. In the United States, Alzheimer's disease is the 5th leading cause of death for people over the age of 65, with more than 130,000 Americans dying from it in 2020 alone, and currently 7 million people living with the disease. And of course, accounting for population differences, similar statistics are reported across much of the world. The earliest symptom of Alzheimer's generally affects memory, specifically the ability to remember newly learned information. This can be difficult to notice at first because some cognitive decline is expected with an aging mind, but with Alzheimer's, the mental deterioration quickly surpasses the norm. As the disease advances,
Hey, if 4 people want to sub to the channel real quick, then I will get the YouTube Prime or whatever the fuck it's called now. And then it will be completely legit. There you go.
it can lead to disorientation, confusion about time and space, personality changes, severe memory loss, and even physiological
You're
problems
always
like
judging me. You shut up.
What's terrifying is that once this process begins, there's no stopping it. Alzheimer's is fatal, and there's currently no known cure. Part of the reason that we've struggled thus far to find
I understand, Allie, and I'm memeing somewhat because like I do not chill on this channel unless it gets below like 25 subs. You know, like that is my number. I don't chill. I'm not coming for your pocketbook. Ads end after the pre-roll and all that other good stuff. And I appreciate everyone who does sub. And I hope that the exchange of the emotes and the Discord and this, I can't even say this stream because I would do the stream either way. But the additional stuff that comes along, that I can do because people sub, is really appreciated on my end. I hope it's appreciated for all the people who can't afford, to sub or don't want to sub. It is what it is.
a cure is because we aren't even sure exactly what causes Alzheimer's in the first place. After a patient with Alzheimer's has passed away, autopsies of their brain reveal 2 abnormal structures: plaques and tangles. Plaques are hard deposits consisting of beta amyloid protein fragments, which build up over time, impairing the regions of the brain where they reside. Similarly, tangles are twisting fibers of another protein called tau. But this is about as far as our knowledge has taken us. Scientists aren't certain why exactly these plaques and tangles form, how exactly they damage neural structures, and why some cells are far more susceptible to the damage than others. Over the last couple of decades, hundreds of different clinical trials using various treatments have attempted to slow or stop this process, but even the smallest scraps of success seem to elude researchers every single time. But 2023 was a big year for this field. On January the 6th, the US Food and Drug Administration granted approval for lecanemab, a drug specifically designed to target the amyloid plaques. Pharmaceutical companies
As a person who values, what up, joint specialist, like who values like knowledge and cognitive processing and all that stuff, I'm with you, Kevin. Like, that is, oh, that's wild. So there's like, I don't know if that's a positive associated with, or you mean stop drinking like water or stop drinking alcohol? When I see stop drinking, I assume, yeah, okay, stop drinking anything that's not good. There is no planet on which stopping drinking is a good thing.
and Biogen have been working for nearly 2 years on clinical trials for the treatment, and the 2023 approval means that it is one step closer to being widely available for all those who are battling the disease. Again, this is not a cure. But the results of the clinical trials showed a slowed rate of cognitive decline of 27%, a truly significant amount, earning it the status of the first fully approved
toy. AI is ultimately a mirror, and it will reflect back exactly who we are.
Yo.
Like any other shiny new toy, AI is ultimately a mirror, and it will reflect back.
And I'm gonna turn that off because it's going to do it for every one of them. But I appreciate the hell out of you, Kedsai. Rendlin Thought, Altmish Frizzle, Paradigm Shift, Cauldron of Bats, Mouselander. Those are all good peeps. That is beautiful. Yeah, no, I feel your pain. Yeah, no, Kensai, Kensai's not here for every stream. Comes and goes in waves. But, like, they will just drop some support, and it's a beautiful thing. Meat's back on the menu. Well, I guess we're getting YouTube Gold.
Drug to combat Alzheimer's disease. But that's not the end of the story. In July 2023, pharmaceutical company Eli Lilly announced the results of their own weapon against Alzheimer's, donanemab. Donanemab works in a similar way, targeting the amyloid plaques, but it seems to be even more effective. In one group, cognitive decline was slowed by nearly 50%, with patients being tested on their memory, problem-solving, personal care, and more. These two drugs, known as monoclonal antibodies, were so effective in some cases that they reduced the amyloid plaques to negligible levels, meaning that some patients still saw cognitive benefits 6 months to a year after they stopped taking the drugs. Of course, such powerful treatment doesn't come without side effects. Headaches, nausea, and other minor symptoms were common, but also were more serious ones like brain swelling and even brain bleeding. Again,
I have no idea, Old Lobster. I don't even, like... I have no idea.
it's far from a cure, but it's a massive step in the
Are you looking for, like, hot tub stream? Because first, step one would be to buy a hot tub, right? But I will absolutely do AI streams from the hot tub. I am not proud. So, like, how much does a hot tub cost?
right direction. One of the most promising aspects of these new drugs is the potential for them to be used early on in intervention when someone is developing amyloid plaques that has yet to show symptoms. If these drugs turn out to be worth all the hype, it's very possible that in the coming years the world will have its very first survival.
I support a battle between people who want to sub to have a hot tub stream and people who want to sub to prevent the hot tub stream. I support that war. Yeah, Reed, that I've got friends who would pop off like that.
Survivor of Alzheimer's disease. It's long been known that cephalopods are among the most intelligent creatures on Earth. Cephalopods include cuttlefish, squid, and the star of today's episode, the octopus. Octopuses, or octopi, or whichever you prefer, continue to surprise researchers with their remarkable levels of intelligence and dexterity. They're able to solve complex mazes, unscrew lids to get food, and can even use tools such as the blanket octopus, which has been known to rip a stinging tentacle off a Portuguese man of war and brand it as a weapon, since they themselves are immune to its effects. Part of the reason that they're so coordinated is the fact that they actually have 9 brains, a small one in each arm and a central one which controls the whole body. Perhaps
that's a good question. It was something like, I have a whole ChatGPT thread trying to get ChatGPT to write me a prompt for Leonardo that will produce a centaur. Like, it is like where I'm asking for it to, how would you describe a centaur to someone who had no like framework? Yes, they did with Bing. The Bing, the DALL-E 3 did the centaur. But like, how would you describe a centaur to someone who had no concept of what a man was and what a centaur is? And I think it's an interesting study in the idea of heuristics, the way that humans understand things and the way that the AI as it currently exists understands things, right? Like, you need to like when you, like I did a whole thing, I would probably need to do a whole stream on it. I'm going to stick a pin in this because it gets way off track, but there is an interesting thought experiment around like how AI art generators perceive what it is that they are generating. That is my impression, understanding. I don't know about marauding Mongolians, but some sort of horse riding steppe peoples, right? Like one of my favorites, Umanmanda. The Umanmanda are such a great name. But yeah, like imagine if you had never seen a human being on a horse before, and a bunch of them come through at you. Yeah, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Perhaps the craziest instance of octopus intelligence is the hilariously common occurrence of the slippery creature escaping its own enclosure in an aquarium, sneaking into another enclosure, and snacking on.
Yeah, not specifically the Mongolians, right? But like, and this is an example of the shorthand that people use. Like, when you want to talk about, horse riding steppe folk, if you say the Mongolians, people will have a visual reference. It's not necessarily accurate, but it gets you within that ballpark. And the Umanmanda are closer to the appropriate time period, but it's the whole thing of like just the people of the steppe, the people of that stretch, people who had access to horses, the people who could keep and raise horses, Scythians, any of these kinds of people, the Huns, just they would. Every so often, enough of them would get together, form big enough contingents, and then they would expand out. And then I'm just talking about like the kind of civilization. They existed for thousands of years. Varying. I speculate understanding stuff is over the way we store memories. Like part of, that kind of, I know where you're coming from because you're an anthropologist and like, we stepped into your ballpark.
Some fish and then returning to its own home before the employees arrive, a story which has reportedly occurred in several aquariums, but sometimes they don't even return to their enclosure, such as Inky, an octopus living in the National Aquarium of New Zealand who escaped his habitat in 2016, climbed down a 164-foot drain pipe and returned himself directly to the ocean. But a new study from 2023 suggests that their levels of intelligence may be even closer to ours than we previously thought, and that, as strange as it sounds, they may even experience nightmares. This study was published by researchers who interacted with Costello, a Brazilian reef octopus who had lived a pretty tough life before ending up in research. At some point off the coast of Florida, he had been attacked by another sea creature, resulting in him losing the majority of 2 of his arms and suffering severe damage to a third. He survived the encounter with the predator, but it seems that the trauma from that day never left him. After being caught by accident by a fisherman and sold to the scientists, Costello got comfortable in his new enclosure in New York. He was smart enough to understand that he wasn't in any danger, made clear by the fact that he rested out in.
Yeah, not to geek out on octopodes too much, but like there was The Future is Wild on Animal Planet many millions of years ago, and they followed the evolution of the octopus into like following a similar idea to the evolution of the primate. So they had octopuses swinging from the trees, and they had ones that were like elephant-sized walking around on the land. It's fucking cool, man.
in the open and didn't feel the need to hide when the researchers came around. But when one researcher, neuroscientist Eric Ramos, returned to the enclosure one morning, he found that the water in Costello's tank was dark and murky, as if the octopus had seen a predator and fired off its ink cartridges to conceal an escape. Obviously, no predator made it into the tank, so the puzzled researchers set up a camera to monitor the octopus 24/7, and what they found was truly remarkable. While sleeping, Costello would rest peacefully for a period of time before suddenly thrashing around, changing colors and firing his ink, all behaviors you'd expect an octopus to exhibit when facing a hungry predator. Ramos said it was really bizarre because it looked like he was in pain. It looked like he might have been suffering for a moment. And then he just got up like nothing happened and he resumed his day as normal. A while later, the team then combed through hundreds of hours of recorded footage and discovered that this had not been an isolated event. 3 more times they watched Costello freak out before calming back down and going back to sleep. The researchers made the stunning proposition that Costello may be experiencing nightmares, perhaps trauma-induced flashbacks of his near-death experience out in the wild that claim to have his limbs. It's already been established that these creatures have sleep cycles, but the ability to dream and have nightmares is a big cognitive leap. If this is true, it holds huge implications for biology and evolution. It would potentially mean that nightmares are, for some reason, evolutionarily advantageous and thus independently evolved in multiple species. On the other hand, it may imply that nightmares are a natural byproduct of higher intelligence and that we may expect to see similar results in other clever animals such as dolphins, elephants, apes, and perhaps others. Unfortunately, Costello died from a parasite just a couple of months after these observations were made, so no further analysis on his potential dreams was performed, and some have suggested that his behaviors were a result of a deteriorating brain in the final stages before death. It's very difficult to verify any of this, since doing a proper brain scan on an octopus is no easy feat, so...
Well, Maddie, I got Ferris here on my shoulder, and sometimes in her sleep, her body starts twitching and her little claws dig into me. So yes, I cannot say 100% that Ferris is dreaming, but I feel that there's strong circumstantial evidence to indicate that.
Future studies are definitely necessary, but it's certainly intriguing. Perhaps it's bad news for vegans, but it's got great potential for agriculture. You see, new research in March of 2023 shows that plants may be screaming in agony when they go too long without water. Okay.
A mohawk? I do not rock a mohawk. I often wish I would have at a point in time when I had more hair on my head, but unfortunately the point in the top and front where you grow the mohawk is now thinning out. Yeah, no, you're cool. You're cool. I figured it was something like that, some sort of illusion. And for those of you sleeping Ferris, what up, Tasteless? Do a lohawk. I could do like an anti-mohawk at this point in my career. She stretches out and puts her tiny little, like, she is 17 years old and has never lost her kitten claws. It is brutal.
They might not be screaming in the way that we think of, but biologists at Tel Aviv University have found that plants emit distinctive ultrasonic clicks when under stress. It's well above the frequency that human ears can pick up, but if we could hear it, it would supposedly sound like the popping of bubble wrap at about the same volume level as a typical conversation. The stress that induces these sounds can come from a lack of water, but also from physical damage. One researcher noted,
it would make sense that because you have to have a social animal has to have some kind of guidance in relation to the other animals within the space, right? Like that is going to be a thing, you know what I mean? Prodigy Firestarter here, yeah. Like we generally accept that a colony organism like ants or bees has a greater degree of intelligence than an individual insect. And that makes a certain amount of sense, like off jump.
You cut the tomato, and it screams. Previous work in this field has found that plants emitted ultrasonic vibrations when under stress, but it was not known if this vibration was powerful enough to carry through the air as sound. To see if this was a possibility, the team placed tomato and tobacco plants on tables in their lab with ultrasonic microphones nearby in case the plants made any noise. While the well-hydrated and undamaged plants made little to no sound, the thirsty plants were quite loud, with tomatoes emitting an average of 35 ultrasonic clicks per hour, with the tobacco letting out a few less. When sliced in their stems, they also clicked many times an hour, though notably less than the thirsty plants. What's even stranger is that each plant species has its own unique voice.
I miss the young ones. I used to love this show. It was so good. So good. Not that. Not the manifesto.
Voice. A machine learning algorithm quickly learned to tell the difference between tomato and tobacco clicks. It could even detect the plant clicking when they were placed in a noisy greenhouse surrounded by people talking and walking around. Soon after uncovering this.
So this is interesting. If they emit tobacco, if you have the ability to register the noises that plants make, and if they make noises in response to specific scenarios and stimuli, like not having enough water, then you could design a system which actually listens to the plant to provide it with water, right? Like the plant could ask for something to drink, which would probably be more efficient than regular watering. It's an interesting idea.
This mysterious phenomena, similar clicks were found to be emitted by corn, wheat, grapevines, and even a type of cactus. Now, it's important to note that we can't be certain that the plants are intentionally letting out these sounds as a distress signal. One researcher suggested that it may just be the forming and popping of bubbles in the plant's water-carrying tissue caused by changes in pressure due to the plant's stress.
And fundamentally, it doesn't matter. Like, for the purposes of what I'm just talking about, is like, whether it's a sonic byproduct of things just happening within it, or whether it's some intentional process within the plant, its ability to ask for water or ask for something could be more efficient systems of water distribution within that. I hear it's what plants crave, Kensei. It could be, right? Like, that'd be cool.
Regardless, the findings have potential for a lot of future research. Scientists are eager to find out if insects such as moths and flies can hear the sound, or perhaps even some species of beetle who may use the vibrations from the clicking to know that a tasty bug is chewing on a nearby plant. The findings may also have big implications in agriculture. Imagine that in the future, farms could automate their crop watering based on plant feedback.
I'm a fucking
wasted
genius.
Water by only spraying as much as is needed. Certainly fascinating, and we can expect more than a few surprises as the research into plant noises continues. So, our last entry today is less of a discovery and more of a proposal. But If true, it has the potential to revolutionize everything we think we know about the universe. The age of the universe is a topic that has drawn the attention of scientists for many years. After all, it's crucial to understand what the universe was like in the past in order to accurately predict its future. In 1917, Einstein proposed a static
Smoke 'em if you got 'em.
universe, suggesting that everything we see is largely unchanging and it's uniform in every direction. According to this model, the universe essentially had no beginning, but rather is eternal in both directions of time. Einstein abandoned this idea upon Edward Hubble's discovery of red-shifting galaxies and the subsequent models of an expanding universe, the model which has stuck around to this day. An expanding universe implies that all matter originated from a single point, which gave rise to the Big Bang theory, and more recent analysis has showed that the universe is not just expanding, but that its expansion is accelerating, giving rise to the theory of dark energy as a source of this acceleration. Based on the observed rates of acceleration, redshift, and distance, the age of the observable universe was calculated to be about 13.7 billion years, with more recent advances in technology narrowing this down to 13.797. But a new study from the University of Ottawa challenges all of that. Professor of Physics Rajendra Gupta published a paper in July 2023 suggesting that the universe may be nearly twice as old as we currently believe, with his estimate at a shocking 26.7 billion years. Gupta arrived at this conclusion by combining the known model of an expanding universe with a theory known as Zwicky's tired light. Fritz Zwicky proposed nearly 100 years ago that light loses slight amounts of energy as it travels vast distances in space, increasing its wavelength and causing it to appear red-shifted. Zwicky's tired light was meant as a complete alternative to the expanding universe, but instead of just choosing one theory or the other, Gupta incorporated both ideas, saying that it becomes possible to interpret the redshifting of galaxies as a hybrid phenomenon rather than due purely to expansion. If expansion isn't the only cause of redshift, it would mean that galaxies would need much more time to reach their current distances and wavelengths, leading to Gupta's estimate of 26.7 billion years. According to his paper, pushing back the age of the universe solves several problems in modern astrophysics, one of which is the discovery of celestial objects that don't seem to fit the current timeline. The Methuselah star, for example, is one of the oldest known stars, with a 2013 NASA study finding that its age was 14.46 billion years, with a possible error margin of 800 million years. This seems to put the star's possible age as older than that of the universe itself. Similarly, the recently launched James Webb Space Telescope has revealed massive galaxies at incredible distances, with some appearing to have formed only 300 million years after the Big Bang. What's puzzling is that some of these galaxies appear to be just as well evolved as galaxies that formed billions of years later, including their sizes of black holes.
The idea, like, light loses energy, which would make a certain amount of sense, right? Like, I'm not claiming any, I read one book by Stephen Hawking and it broke my brain in that regard. But things do lose energy over distance. And one of the issues, like, with even something like Ethernet cable. Ethernet cable can only be so long because after it gets so long, you end up with signal loss. The same is true for electricity. The reason why you need transformers to bump up the voltage and fire it down transmission lines is because at lower voltage there's a degradation, there's a signal loss. So it would make sense for light to lose energy at a distance. You know what I mean? Regardless of the source, but in the process of traveling over a long distance, right? Because the electricity is not spreading out in a volume like along the wires. It's just in a matter of the distance. But again, like, I'm not arguing for anything in any way because I don't have the knowledge to speak about this other than what I vaguely understand about the entire process. You know what I mean?
seemingly in
This is not a hill that your boy is going to die on.
conflict with the current theories of galactic formation. Gupta's extension of the universe's age resolves this issue entirely. Now, obviously, this is just a single model, and it doesn't yet have much support. However, it does remind us that science, especially astronomy, is not a done deal. Humanity still has a great deal to learn about the universe we live in, and we can't be afraid to change or even throw out some old ideas as our knowledge inevitably advances.
And I think that part at the end is more yeah, I mean, first off, you invent a new model of anything, there's going to be resistance. And this is actually part of the problem. Like, we recently, like a month or two ago, like, the way that we do gradient descent, which is part of how you go about training some AI models, was created, you know, the process, the theory, and everything else, and it was used for quite a long time, and no one ever looked back at it to see if there were like anything different that you could do. And then someone did and found out that you can kind of leapfrog a bunch of intermediate steps in it as part of the process and get good results. So I think it's important to at least have an open enough mind to look back at some of the things that we take as like this is the way it is, just to check to make sure it's still the way it is, based on new findings and new knowledge and things like that, you know. Not saying we throw it all out every time we come up with something new, because it could turn out to be wrong, like, you know, like the LK99 semiconductor. Looked promising in spite of it being in violation of a bunch of different things. Turned out to not be a thing. There might be some value in it nonetheless, but it was important to take a look and take a good look. And then it has to justify itself. And then if it does, then that is the new model of the way things work. So yeah, that was a decent video. I like that. Oh, by myself. All right. The breakdown. Artificial intelligence is coming for your job.
Is artificial intelligence coming for your job?
Why are you asking me? It says artificial intelligence is coming for your job. And now you're asking it like it's a question.
Yeah, we are the prime targets.
But as we debate the mind-boggling pros and cons, AI adapters insist it can be a force for good.
Fewer patients are dying.
And everyone needs to adapt.
Again, I don't want to do that. That's not why I do what I do.
And that's unfortunate because it is going to come.
So we are talking about AI in the workforce. People are largely pretty divided here too. I think fair to say over here.
Oh, this is like a debate, right? It looks like it will probably be like a better debate, you know? Let's have at it.
We've got wary, maybe a little fearful. Over here, some full-on fans. Now, backstage, future of work economist Armin Yalnizyan is listening in. We'll bring her in shortly. So, Dr. Mamdani, I'd like to start with you. You work at Unity Health. You work with AI all the time. What might surprise us about what AI has done in your workforce?
Yeah, I think the implications of AI can be quite profound. In our emergency department, it has reduced human effort on simple tasks by over 80%. So tasks that normally take 2 to 4 hours every day by a few people, it's reduced to under 15 minutes. Error rates have went from over 20%.
From 2 to 4 hours to under 15 minutes. You have to understand how big a deal that is. Take any activity that takes you 2 to 4 hours and reduce it to 15 minutes. I've been using it to fill out every form at work the past several months. And how much time would you say that has saved you? Now one person has noticed. Because as long as it's accurate, there is no problem.
20% to under 5%. What this algorithm does is it looks at historical data, all sorts of patterns. It scrapes the web for weather data to see if there's going to be a snowstorm tomorrow night. It looks for events like marathons on Lakeshore Boulevard on Sunday. With all of that, we can tell you Saturday from noon to 6, there'll be 80 patients waiting in the emergency department. 10 of them will have mental health issues. 12 of them will be hard to treat. The rest will be easier with between 94 to 96% accuracy. That helps us plan better. That helps us staff better. It helps us take care of our patients better. We have algorithms that are running, monitoring patients as we speak every hour on the hour. That has resulted in significant reductions in mortality.
But I'm going to stop you because these sound like very important things that people used to do. So has anyone lost their job?
There will be some mundane things where we won't need a person to do it. Those are going to be jobs that people
I hear
may
mundane and I think that's someone's whole job.
Well, in some cases, I think we have to adapt to what's happening. Fewer patients are dying, and it's because our clinicians are able to pay more attention to the patients who need it. Our goal is for AI.
And this is why I completely I understand, I empathize, I sympathize that people are losing the jobs that they need to survive under the current meta. That to me is not a reason to not automate the jobs. It's a reason to change the current meta. Right? Because if we continue trying to shoehorn in humans to do work that can be automated, we will continue to kick this can down the road for another few hundred goddamn years. Let's focus on the goal.
To enable us to provide more human-based care.
The big thing with AI, and this is the confusion behind it, AI is only as good as the knowledge that you give it, like you saying with the medical staff, and then how you actually ask it the questions of the people who are giving it the answers. Without it, it's just something that can tell you how many cows are in the world. It's really not as powerful as people think.
Okay, so Jeff McPherson, everybody here, I think an AI shark is not a terrible phrase for you.
Okay.
Because you go into businesses and help them understand how to work with AI.
Correct.
What I am curious about, though, because I know you have questions, CL and Martin as well, as a writer and as an illustrator, when you hear of the sorts of jobs that are on the AI chopping block, unfortunately, they pop up on the list all the time. So
yeah, we are the prime targets.
So what goes through your mind when you hear of sort of it could save lives, the efficiencies?
What I'm hearing is that these things are all really great, but it is early days. And I do kind of have a caution where I think, all the more reason to examine the possible consequences and regulate them as quickly as we can. Because sometimes when you have a new innovation, it can get out ahead
I did not.
of basically the sober second thought that we rely on so much here in Canada. Personally, I'm a fantasy writer. I have 4 novels and a novella out, and I'm here to tell you that every single one of them has been scraped by ChatGPT.
So what do you mean by that?
What I mean is that content, every single word of those books that basically based my livelihood off of, has been scanned by a computer. Every single word of those books is inside the language model of ChatGPT. Let's say if somebody wanted a sequel, which I am not currently planning to write, they could go to ChatGPT and say, hey, write me a sequel to The Midnight Bargain. And when that happens, what happens to me?
When was the first moment that you thought AI?
It's interesting, and again, I'm not going to hard dunk on an illustrator and an author whose livelihoods are being threatened. Prime target is obviously loaded framing, but they are dealing with that from their point of view, which is a loss of income, and I understand and respect that. But it was within their own framing. They're talking about someone creating a sequel that they are not planning to write, and then what happens to them. Like, this is work that wasn't going to be done. This was something that wasn't going to be created. You know what I mean? Yeah, like, it was... in that... Again, like, my position is to have better framing and to work on the real issue, which is that people's material needs are not being met under an automated future. These are the first signs of what we're talking about. Now is the time to have these conversations and to push for an actual solution, as opposed to just extending the limping on of capitalism for another 200 years. And what is his ring? Reed, come get your girl. Is she like one of the Sorcerer Supreme out here with this?
They might be coming for me as an illustrator.
Okay, I don't want to dunk on... Like, one of the things that hit me is at the same time I was watching a video from PhilosophyTube talking about the AI threat to, like, screenwriters, right? I'm hearing James from the internet in the chat talking, or on the stream talking about how one of the cultural touchstones of the 3 seashells from Demolition Man, like, most of us probably know Demolition Man, and most of us probably know the 3 seashells, and even if you don't, you probably have seen a 3 seashells meme on the internet. And every so often I see another one or a rehash of the 3 seashells. And apparently the screenwriter called his friend who was in the bathroom, and he looked around the bathroom, and in the potpourri dish there were some seashells, which sounds completely plausible because I have seen exactly that, because people like to put seashells in their bathroom for some weird reason that I've never been able to figure out. And people want to talk to me about, like, this idea of human creativity. And this is, like, one of those cultural touchstones that was created by, like, what's the creativity there? Right? Like, be honest. Other than magic human theory that somehow that, like, and they put it in the movie or whatever. It's neat, right? Like, it's an interesting thing, but, like, this is how I feel a lot of that. Paris, settle your hash. Stop pushing against my head. All right, so apparently people aren't fans of her book. At least remember that reviews are a subset of people. There's the people who bought the book, the people who read the book, the people who didn't enjoy the book, and then the people who didn't enjoy the book to the point where they had to tell someone about it on the internet. Always remember that these are self-selecting filters. Weird entitlement people have to create a work, especially if it's linked to income. There's a thing there, right? And it can be difficult to get people to talk about things that directly threaten their income, and especially in public spaces on the internet, right? Like, it cannot go well. People don't necessarily have a willingness to have that kind of discussion. And this is why I don't have those discussions in that space. I definitely don't seek them out. I don't correct people on their misinterpretations of what they think the AI is doing. I understand their pain, and I am not going to make it worse by having an argument with them on the internet. AI creative effort, entitlement, getting paid for the labor and creations. It just comes out into ideas and it being better for them. They're afraid of that instead of embracing it. It's an ideology that's based on being conservatism and not wanting to progressive. Like, to an extent, I agree with that as a thing, is that there are conservative motivations behind people's resistance to these things. Like, I'm not going to name any names, but I feel that there is at least a segment of people who would consider themselves leftist who want a human worker status quo. That the actual achievement of any goals is a direct threat to what they are trying to accomplish, whether financially or clout or what have you. And I'm not naming any names, and I'm not calling anybody out. I'm just, that exists. Sylvester Stallone, during an interview, explained the seashell method as follows. The first two shells are like... Yeah, I've seen that as a meme. I don't know, the series Expanse seemed to hit it pretty much on the head. Dude was on the UBI for essentially all his life and still in his 30s waiting to get entry into college. Which character was that? Or are we talking about the writers? Went straight to 1 star. That's actually the way I use most reviews, is I look for the worst review to see what their issue with the product was and whether or not I would have that same issue. Generally, the 1 star reviews are not actually reflective of the product, but what people wanted it to do as if by magic. You know what I mean? That's it. Caught up with chat.
When people started making entire children's books over a weekend using ChatGPT to write it and imaging AI to make illustrations for it.
What are you...
But was the book any good? Right? And again, it's a children's book. The bar is relatively low. This is never like... Nobody seems to bring that up in any of these conversations. There are, like, people who are against AI art will tell you that it's soulless or whatever, and like that. And like, it's difficult to comment on someone's subjective experience, especially of art. It's a whole thing. But was the children's book any good? Was it a good book for children? Was it a book that either imparts some moral lesson that children should learn or taught them basic functions of language, which is something that will, like, this is a pre-existing condition about, like, people turning out crap children's books. It might have been crap. Technology is not conservative. Technology is generally not conservative, but technologists and engineers and people within the space often can be. So, like, kind of like mixed on that one. I'd agree a good children's book might even be more difficult. Like, for a human to do it, it's like there's a whole thing. Art is soulless, but have you seen any children's content on the internet? Yes, I have. I have a 7-year-old niece. It was a side character. Lady from Mars was on Earth. There was a diplomatic issue. She was asking dude why he didn't just go to the college and essentially bootstrap. He mentioned he had been on the waiting list for years. Yeah, okay. I don't remember that exact character, but Lady from Mars, I'm going to assume the Marine. Yeah. They had an issue with Bobby Draper. Love Bobby Draper. The Earth in that time period had an issue with like resource management, and like there wasn't a whole lot of artificial intelligence in it, you know what I mean? But I still love The Expanse. I think it's good blue collar science fiction. And I prefer blue collar science fiction, especially because blue collar science fiction allows us to yeah, but the blue collar science fiction gives us signposts that we should avoid, kind of thing. It really isn't, because cyberware tends to be like available, which seems like cyberware is both expensive and but like everybody has it. Like it's a weird mix.
Afraid of in this moment?
I'd like to still have a job next year, basically.
Again, like the idea of having the job. And my position is that if you handle people's material conditions and if you provide them what they need, then it turns this choice, instead of being a financial choice where someone can have something created via these automated tools at like fractions of a penny, versus like a children's book, which can range from, $10 to $30, depending on what we're talking about. It turns it into an aesthetic choice. Would you prefer a book written by AI, or would you prefer a book written by a human being? Which again puts it to people, I think, that given their druthers would choose books written by other humans. And then, as Ivan said earlier, this idea of status, right? You can be a great author in the fully automated AI future. People will think that you are a great author. But everybody gets to eat, everybody gets housing, everybody gets health care. As opposed to the current system in which that doesn't happen. Yeah, I know, Maddie.
I see AI as being a really good tool that could be used art-wise.
Good.
If you need prompts for, say, I need to draw a cityscape from a bird's eye view, I can prompt that into AI, and it'll give me an idea of a starting point, let's say, so then I could keep creating. But the problem right now in this industry is that it's almost treating art as if it's a problem. The only problem that we're having is because of greedy CEOs. A money will make millions and millions of dollars, but they want to make more money, so they'll cut the artist completely. That's the problem. It's hard to get on board.
And while accurate, it's not far enough, right? Like, at issue with that individual is that CEOs are making too much money, but that there is like a more money limit that they could make, where in fact what the problem is the money in general. is the resource distribution model that we currently use that does the money. You follow me? It's an important distinction. Don't get me wrong. No, like, there is a certain amount of, like, you might not want to use the word greed, but excess resource acquisition within the space, which enables you more agency and, distances you from ramifications. Shorthand, you could do that as greed in an environment where other people are suffering. Right, Anthony? You understand where I'm going with that? It's like they are creating new stuff, but at the same time, it's like my man here, Mark Andreessen, the Techno Optimist Manifesto, this is a greedy motherfucker. The internet isn't a human right, but should it be now? Absolutely. Do you need it to function? I'm speaking strictly from the United States. This is where I live. This is where I function. Do you require the internet to function in the United States? And the answer is unequivocally yes. And if you require it to survive in an environment, then it is a human right. Right? I do not care what something else in a different environment. A fish does not require the same oxygen mix within a volume as I do in this volume. Its environment and my environment are different. And if we swap environments, we will die. In this environment, I require a certain amount of oxygen. Level head. Oh shit, I never turned the alerts back on. There it is.
Like any other shiny new toy, AI is ultimately a mirror, and it will reflect.
Look at that founder's badge. Look at that day one homie. Level head. All right.
At this point, and it's moving so fast, and there's zero regulations, copyright issues, like you're saying. There's none. How long is it going to take for the government to even think about this? It should be used as a tool, but unfortunately in the art industry, it's being used as a replacement completely.
Have you been replaced?
I don't know.
Yeah, ask me.
I'm with you. Kill the idea of copyright, but it's like that thing right there is like, have you been replaced? I don't know. There are jobs I might not be getting. They are imaginary jobs that I can think of. Yo,
AI is ultimately a mirror.
Thank you with the gifty.
Reflects back exactly who we are.
Bruce the Great White had to alter his behavior in order to become a shark that could live within the social system he was within. If he could do it, so should we. 2,000 years ago, people traveled with horses and bedrolls, and that was normal. Today, that is not how most folks get a paycheck, which was also not a thing 2,000 years ago. Exactly. Like, when people bring up the idea of, like, okay, I can see food and clothing and housing. Those are, but like internet is like, because they imagine that access to the internet is like playing games and watching Twitch. But like, I mean, you are right now, maybe unbeknownst to you, but you are right now engaged in an educational process, right? Like you are learning stuff, and I hope to do it in an entertaining manner, and I hope like to make you at least question the things that you might believe and reaffirm other things that you might believe, and like, I am not above being challenged. I am not one of those ego streamers who's always right within the space, and I'll ban anybody who questions me. It takes takes a lot to get banned in here, and it's usually in very specific tracks. Though if you piss off Reed and Levelhead, then they're fully authorized to nuke you from existence. So, like, this is not the same environment as, like, another streamer who, like, and I'm not taking, like, do your thing. Is like, if you play video games and people enjoy watching you play video games, then play those fucking video games and people should be able to enjoy that. But, like, there are different kinds of things happening on the internet beyond what you need it for to, like, communicate with your, like, when you call your doctor's office, do they refer you to their web portal? Well, if they refer you to the web portal, then you need the internet in order to engage with your healthcare. Wait, this isn't the National Underwater Basket Weaving and Aberrational Metaphor Club? It is that sometimes as well. I put crystal protective headscarf every morning so no woke ideas can penetrate the dome. Fair enough. Shit, you know how much visual research I did for my design certificate on Google image search alone? Exactly. I first learned Bible already has all the truths I need, and I respect your personal journey within the space.
It's time for the
I could
next
get
contract
contracts, but then I
negotiation.
didn't get as many contracts last year. Is it because
Because the
Buddy
work is
decided
going
to do it himself with the AI? I don't know.
Right, I didn't get as many contracts as I did last year. And I'm not saying that he didn't get as many contracts because of automation taking jobs that otherwise would have gone to them, right? But let's be real that a lot of the work that is being done is like corporate art or corporate graphic design that, all things being equal, this guy would probably be complaining about having to do at all. You know what I mean? Just applying for a job requires an internet connection. A lot of applying for services require internet connections. And they tell you if you don't have access to it, that you need to go to like an internet cafe or a public library that offers internet access. Like, it is... What up, that one black guy? I would never yell at you. You are amazing. I have no notes.
In a generation from now, why would you want to become an artist? Why would you want to become a writer if a computer could just do it? We don't do it for money. We do it because we like it, right?
But you also do it for money.
At the end of the day, that's what it's for. The efficiency, the productivity, to put profit in all of our pockets. That's what it's for. If it can help you.
Yeah, I mean, you call it whatever you want. Like, there are people who talk about, like David Shapiro talks about, okay, we need to make sure that everyone has housing, and everyone has health care, and everyone has food, and everyone has all the things that they need, and internet and all this other stuff, so that they can live their best life. But they're not talking about socialism. They're not talking about communism. Okay. As long as, and this is why your boy doesn't do isms, this is why your boy doesn't do ists, is because you can call it whatever you want, right? Like, you can call it happy fun time vanilla ice cream rainbow sprinkles. I don't care. I care about policy. I care about what actually happens. That is the only thing that matters. That is the only thing that should matter. Are we taking care of people's material conditions? Do they have access to all the abundance that we are creating through these processes on the planet?
Do that, it's gonna make people happy. It is going to happen, and it is happening right now. Are we talking subjectively in the creative world, writing and art? Yes, 100%. But from his point of view,
100%.
It's super powerful. So how can you pick AI being?
And that's the thing. Like, just a sustainable type 1 civilization. That's a great name, right? It might be a little scientific for some people, you know, a little nerdy, but I like it. And this is the thing. When you enter into a conversation, we use words as shorthand, and we use ists and isms a lot as shorthand, right? And when you go in, like, you go into a space and you are talking to someone who probably disagrees with you politically, and you say something like, I'm a socialist, then you have a reference frame of what that means, right? They have a reference frame of what they think it means. These reference frames are probably not the same. Right? Especially if they are a member of the proletariat doing the same working class job as you, and you are attempting to, you know, create a union in your workplace and organize your workplace. You got to remember that the words that you're using, what they had a sum total of their entire existence and educational process, which includes the education that they received from home, friends, and family. And depending on how they feel about those friends and family, if they love their Uncle Phil, and their Uncle Phil is a rabid, patriot, freedom, eagle kind of guy, the word socialism is demon talk. And if you start talking about socialism to Uncle Phil's nephew, you couldn't, like, it's a non-starter. But if you talk about the things that you would like to see, you can get farther with that. People use words differently because they have a different understanding, a different reference frame of what that means, right? Even people who do want people to have their basic needs met will still find ways to justify oppression, usually through some form of demonizing, dehumanizing, marginalized people. 100%. Right? Like, the issue of, I'm not going to pay for other people's health care. I'm not going to pay for poor people to sit around on the couch and play video games. But that reference frame that they have of what that kind of means is based on that educational process and environment. They think that this kind of stuff leads to a particular kind of behavior, because for their entire life they have been taught you got to get up in the early, you got to work hard, and that meritocracy is a real thing. This is their worldview. And that worldview is also associated with their relationship with Uncle Phil. And if they really love Uncle Phil, and you attack their worldview, you're also attacking Uncle Phil. And they will defend Uncle Phil. If you want to get your point across, you have to understand where that person is, what they are talking about, what their reference frames are, so that you can communicate with them. Like, the biggest example is the way that, like, and by biggest, I mean biggest. It was like during the French Revolution, the early days, or right before the French Revolution, there was like a bunch of educated French folks from the city who went out into the country and told them how to be, right? Like, that they knew the answers. And when you talk down to people, I needed an uncle real quick, and Phil was the first name that came up. When if you talk down to people about their belief systems, they're going to be naturally resistant to it. Is why I don't engage in dunks and things like that, and like, and I'm gonna, you do you, I'm not telling you how to be, but if you want to be understood, calling people shit libs and, you know, the way that we talk about conservatives, you're not going to be listened to. So it's like, what are you trying to accomplish? Do you want to do dunks? Do dunks. People do dunks all the time. It's not productive, but it can make you feel better. But if you want to communicate stuff to try and move people in a particular direction, you have to go where they are, talk to them in their language, and speak to their issues and how your philosophy can assist them in that space. But don't think you know better than them. I used to dunk on fools all the time. Guess how productive it was.
One side a pro, but the other side a con, because it could be going after your.
Levelhead and I have talked about this before, but this is also why I despise the framing of interacting with the philosophical foundations of evangelism as being an atheist Andy is incredibly frustrating. I agree, debate broism is a net harm, but you have to actually appeal the epistemological foundations of their worldview. Just memeing on Jesus isn't going to convince them. Yeah, like I am a hardcore atheist. I believe in none of your gods. None of them. I have really, really strong views about the existence of religion. They don't come up because it's not going to be a productive conversation, generally speaking. If you believe in religion, if you have any spiritual or philosophical things within that space, I probably completely disagree with them. And it's never going to come up. I'm going to work on practical solutions to physical space problems, and I'm going to talk about these things. And I don't want to interrupt that process by offending you in some fashion, where you're not listening to me about something else. It's just not what I engage in. And again, you do you. I'm talking about how I roll. Fortunately, we have developed a Western society. Western society is even I don't like the term, where we shame people making mistakes. 100% absolutely. And we need to stop that, because if you are successful, you learn almost nothing. But when you fail, you have the opportunity at least to learn a lot. And those people are afraid of being wrong, so they stay ignorant and stop growing. That's part of it, but they're also sometimes not like afraid of being wrong as much as they are convinced that they're right. But like there's a thing. Conversely, as a survivor of hardcore fundamentalism, purity culture, abusive and manipulative, fear-based high control, I find personal value in the memeing on Jesus and basically having a space to connect with fellow survivors, process trauma, and educate those who are unaware of the depths of depravity in some religious circles. There's value in both for different reasons. Exactly. I mean, like, have I ever once talked at all about how you approach, how you act in the world in that space and any of that? No, not once. It's just, you do you. You have to live in your space. You have to process these things. You have, bro, I love you, homie. You've been through the trenches, and like, for real, you, and I hope it's not just like something that I'm seeing. You are like, you look happier, right? You know what I mean? I hope it's like, I hope it feels good. I hope it, like, you're my beautiful butterfly. Oh, I appreciate you.
Jobs. It's like is it discouraging? Yes, but you actually now have the ability to become a prompt engineer, is what it's called, to be able to create.
Engineer. I want to be an artist.
Yeah, but that's just where the industry is going.
So I don't find that a very good argument because there's nothing to adapt to. Me writing in 3-4 prompts to make an image is nothing. Nothing. There's nothing to learn.
Which I disagree. That's why these prompt engineers are making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year.
Yeah. But then are we all going to go back to school to learn this?
You don't need to.
Engineers?
I think the approach we take is more around, I think, these emerging concepts of responsible AI. So this is where we have our clinicians, where we have our patients, we have people say, this is what's acceptable to us, this is what's not acceptable to us. And that kind of sets the parameters around how we develop.
You know, Ipsos Reid just had a poll recently suggesting that Canadians are among the least likely people in the world to feel, I guess, confident or feel that.
There is, I mean, that's a valid question, Anthony. There are some, like myself, I am constantly in the process of learning, right? Like, not going back to school, but I'm listening to audiobooks, I'm reading stuff, I'm watching videos, I'm doing all this stuff to learn more and more about AI so that I can bring that to y'all, but also because it really interests the shit out of me. Within the structure of of capitalism, of the meta, school is something that you do and then you stop doing because you leveled up, right? It is not something you go back to. Going back to school means that a previous choice that you made was wrong. Like, you failed. Right? You weren't good enough. There's a bunch of psychology around that. And that's why I look like I'm listening to what they're saying, how they're saying it, trying to make, some conclusions about the individual who's speaking in that, so that I can, I would be looking to have a different kind of conversation with him than I would with her or with the doctor or Tattoo Elbows guy, right? I mean, he is beyond education. Now is the point, because in capitalism, you go to basic school, then you go to advanced school, then you do the thing and make the money and reap the rewards of the going to school. To go back to school is a step back, you know what I mean? And that is definitely a framing issue. Let's say I want to go back, it's just the way I express a feeling of wanting to focus on studying some shit, learning, meeting other cool people, but I do see your point. And that's not like me judging that I think that is the case. Capitalism thinks that's the case, right? In my perfect world, you could learn anything. In my AI future abundance utopia kind of thing, you want to do blacksmith? You go find the blacksmith, right? Someone will be doing blacksmithing because humans appreciate blacksmithing. They like it. They like hammer, hit thing and fire and make sword or knife or whatever, right? Like all the things that of human creativity that exist within the blacksmithing space. And because the blacksmith is not worried about his material conditions, he can teach you. You want to spend a week, a month, hanging out with the blacksmith? Like doing an apprenticeship so that you can learn some basic blacksmithing? You can do it. Because no one's material conditions are being interrupted. There's nothing to be sacrificed in that space. That is the future that I'm trying to get to. That is the goal that I have. Going back to school now, yeah, like it's a loss of time and potential income. And I have kids and I have a wife, or I have a house payment, or I have, whatever, all the obligations. And so it's like, and what is to be attained, right? Like, am I trying to get a degree, or am I just trying to learn some shit? All this kind of stuff. And it, like, we juggle all these things because at the end of all that is making enough money so that we don't die. And that's a fucked up way to organize a society.
AI is going to make their lives better. I'm curious about you, Jeff, because what is happening when you walk into a business? Like, how are you perceived and what are you doing?
We're not there to be like, hey, we're going to replace the whole thing. But there's an opportunity if people can't keep up with the systems that we build in each department that you may not be there. So somebody can be a writer. We can take 100 of their past blogs or emails that they've written, put it into the AI, and it will spit out new blogs as well as change language as well. That's just on the email marketing side. Same thing with customers.
And this is why you got to be careful with your language, right? Because spit out is language of anti-AI people. This is one of the things, is that their understanding of the way the art functions, and that, like, it sucks in all the art and then spews out, shit, is like. So you don't use language like spit out. You use words like generate, right? Craft. Like, one of my personal experiences with AI is that, like, it's a small thing, but it's a quality of life thing, is that Google looks at my emails and tells me when a bill is coming up. Or not even just bills. Like, there was something that I could apply to, and there was a deadline coming up. And it let me know on my phone. I understand that might make some people uncomfortable with that amount of data, and, respect. You do you. But, like, my emails already go through Google. Right? Like, yeah, like, what's my goal? What's my dream world? It's just all my bills on auto pay, right? Like, don't worry about that. The amount of fear mongering among media people and journalists specifically about just ChatGPT is so fucking no. I get that. Like, and I'm making a broad assumption, but I would believe that the majority of people who are fear-mongering, and the main thing that was annoying was that none of them had actually tested it. And that's, or like, I see the story. Are you okay? I see the stories of, like, oh, I entered a prompt into ChatGPT to write me a novel, and it turned out an absolute piece of crap. And it's like, of course it did, because you put no effort into it and you got no effort out. Sorry, I dropped my vape. That is the thesis of this stream, 100%. Have you used it? If you have not engaged with the AI, your opinion has limited utility.
Service, same thing with sales, call centers and stuff like that. Do I have empathy to the fact that it can take people's jobs? Yes, but there's an opportunity for experts like yourselves to get ahead of it so you can be a part of it. And that's where it's super powerful.
Again, I don't want to do that. That's not why I do what I do.
And that's unfortunate because it is going to come.
I feel like it's invalidating us as humans
right?
at some point.
It literally takes years to get good enough to do what we do.
Have you been in a position where you say, you know what?
Sunk cost fallacy, right?
We're not going to do that because there are human beings here.
Many times. There are areas where I believe we can actually reduce staffing, for example, through efficiencies that we can gain from AI solutions using things like natural language processing to scour through notes and actually collect the information we need efficiently, where we could cut staff probably by about 20 to 30% would be my estimation. But is that the right thing to do? I don't think it is.
How long is...
Right? Like, he's talking about that people will lose their jobs. And her expression was sympathetic to that. And it's the jobs that are the friggin' problem.
the ethical decision going to be the one that wins the day?
This is why I think it's important for society to drive AI and not the other way around.
Mm-hmm. Is society driving AI? I mean, do you think the ethical decision will be the...
In any industry, no matter what it is, there's good and bad. It's just which one can overpower the other is the big thing. In the business world that we're in, it comes down to the bottom line. And businesses, as they grow, that number needs to get larger while things start getting cut. And they're going to implement AI just because it's cheaper, faster, and it's scalable.
Okay, so we need more faith in humanity here.
Yes, and that's going to be the tough thing.
Okay, I'm going to call time here for a second because the problem is very clear. The solution's less so. This is why Armin Yalnizyan is standing by watching. Armin's going to come in and talk to us about a path forward here.
I would love more regulation, but I fear that we don't know how to do it.
And a company in North America may say, put the brakes on. That doesn't mean a company in Russia or China will.
Absolutely correct.
Okay, back to the urgent debate.
And that, this is obviously originally intended for broadcast, and that was the teaser in order to get you just enough that you wanted to come back after the commercial break. Then they did their logo, then the blank spot for the commercial break, and then their logo, and then we're back, and this is the punch that gets you like, okay, we're back, right? Like that kind of thing. And it's all so weird when you don't have the commercials.
On AI and the possible threat to your job.
Why would you want to become a writer if a computer could just do it?
We've heard from anxious workers, but also eager adopters. Now for the broader view of where it's all going.
We, as humans, are still in charge of the machines. That might not last longer if we all throw our hands up.
Okay, Armin Yalnizyan, if you haven't already met, is an economist with a specialty in the future of workers. I know you were listening in, and I'm...
Maybe we did, Reed. We'll find out where she comes down.
These aren't the only industries that need to be asking this question, right?
100%. It is terrifying to see the possibility of a creative force taking over human creativity. I get it. But it is happening everywhere in every industry, as Jeff mentioned. It's happening to coders. It's happening to translators. It's happening to engineers. It's happening to people working in law.
What strikes you about what you heard here so far?
This version of technology, as you've said a couple of times, Martin, is evolving very rapidly and in a way that is human-esque in its ability to almost think. We're not there yet, but we might be moving there faster than anybody has anticipated. In fact, never before in history have we been less sure of our predictions of what is about to happen, which means we should be much more cautious about how we are approaching it, but that makes it harder to regulate because it is usually regulation happens after something terrible has happened. And now we can't even predict what the terrible thing that could happen.
Nobody's thinking about the security aspect of AI because there is going to be the bad AI, like we've talked about, but there needs to be the guard against the bad AI coming. And there's going to be people who are going to be building bad AI to be able to replace jobs, scam people, stuff like that.
100%. Have you had your great...
I would like to again just point out that a lot of the conditions that lead to the bad actors can be alleviated by alleviating the material conditions of those people within that space, right? what is the majority reason that people commit crimes? People commit crimes because of a lack of, material, right? Like, people shoplift because they don't have money in order to buy food or maintain their housing, that kind of thing. If we alleviate that, then many of these things fall by the wayside naturally.
Great ethical technology lay off anybody?
Yeah, I mean, us personally, no, but we've gone into businesses where, yes, customer service, they're no longer there. Writers, they're no longer there. Salespeople, no longer there.
So your technology that you have been asked to bring into a company has in fact led to higher unemployment in those companies?
Correct.
Okay. I just want to be clear that that is one purpose of this technology, is to be labor replacing.
Correct.
It is also, to the good doctor's point.
And, okay, I like that she is establishing definitions. That is excellent. She is clarifying those situations. And she brought up the point because a lot of people are like, well, in previous industrial revolutions, it just made humans more productive and created these new jobs and stuff like that. She made the point that these are labor replacing, right? It is not making a customer service rep more productive. It is replacing the customer service rep. And that is going to be the continuing case across the majority, if not the entirety, of what we currently consider work.
Labor enhancing. I have been through, in my personal life as an economist, 3 waves of the robots are going to eat all of the jobs. And at the end of every wave of debate and existential hand-wringing, we have had more jobs. But this rodeo is different.
You would say, though, if I may, Dr. Mamdani, that it's not just labor enhancing.
LLMs are labor replacing in knowledge space. Like, again, a customer service rep, you can replace the majority of customer service reps with AI chatbots. There are very few things that humans even need to do. And right now, the majority of them are confined to where money is involved. Like, I can do a whole bunch of things with my cable company right through their chatbot, right up until the point where someone has to take my payment information. Because we're still at a point where humans want another human to take that information because they believe in this idea that there is someone you can complain to when the human does it that doesn't exist when the automation does it. And to one extent that's true, but to a far more accurate extent that is simply not true. You're going to complain to the corporation. And I care far more about the results than I do about who to blame about the inaccuracy of a human. It was something from the Sophie from Mars video about that humans, that given a doctor, a human doctor that is right 80% of the time, and an AI that is right 99.9% of the time, that people will move towards the human doctor because they have someone to complain about for a misdiagnosis. I will take a significant less chance of a misdiagnosis. And to my way of thinking, it's weird to be otherwise, but I understand that it exists. For physical labor, actual physical labor, you're right. Like, but we're already moving there. Like, there are many warehouses that the warehouse staff are being replaced with robots. And they are non-humanoid robots because non-humanoid robots are not as good at doing the physical task because the humanoid form is not good for the physical task of packing boxes and shipping things.
In this context, is it going too far to say it's life-saving?
We have a patient in the ICU right now where it's a really unfortunate situation. That patient was bounced to three hospitals before she came to ours, and she had an intracranial hemorrhage or a brain bleed. Missed, unfortunately, and all, nobody can point fingers and say, why didn't you do X or Y? It's just, that's how the healthcare system works. We have an algorithm that detects brain bleeds in less than 30 seconds using AI. Had that been available, deployed, the right steps taken, she may not be where she is today.
Mm-hmm. So can I just double down on this? What is the data we are feeding these machines on will define, and what is the purpose to which we are asking the machines to solve problems for us, will define who gets hurt, who gets helped. I would love more regulation, but I fear that we don't know how to do it. That the technology is evolving too quickly, that's one issue. That the ownership of the technology is by such large corporate entities.
And a company in North America may say, put the brakes on. That doesn't mean a company in Russia or China will.
Absolutely correct. And we are competing with everybody on who and what is going to control this technology that we are developing as humanity around the world in real time.
I'm curious about at this level, depending on where you are in your career.
Yeah.
What on earth do you do?
Somebody asked me the other day, I have an 18-year-old that's thinking about going into coding. Is AI going to...
This is it's still kind of wild to me. They have the QR code so that I could point my phone at the screen and it would take me to the place to leave a comment. The utility of something like this? I wasn't talking to you, Google. Place to leave a comment. Google thought I was talking to it. The utility of this, imagine if for the purposes of laws, right? Or bills. You want to pass a bill, you get out here, you do your spiel, right? Maybe you have a pro and con with a tight 2 to 5 minutes per each side, and then the QR code so that you can go ahead and, leave any comment and, theoretically, on a secure enough connection, and there are some logistical issues that probably have to be worked out, you could cast your vote on that kind of thing. Right? Hold on one second. There is. Falling down. Mom. You're going to slide off. And then I'm going to regret it.
Going to eat his future. And my answer was, would you have said that to an accountant? Somebody that wanted to study accounting when we introduced the hand calculator? Mm-hmm. Of course not. It's a tool that made everybody's jobs easier and faster. Awesome. AI could code. We should all, especially young people, should be much more conversant about technology in a world that is dominated by technology. We, as humans, are still in charge of the machines. That might not last longer if we all throw our hands up and say...
Give it 6 months, yeah.
Right? If that's what we're saying, give it 6 months, it'll come. It'll come faster if we give up control.
At our hospital, we have a saying that is, not ours, we've heard it from others, is that AI is not going to replace clinicians. But clinicians who use AI are going to replace clinicians who don't use AI.
If you have, between 3 and 6 years left in your career, or 6 to 10 years, or 20 years left, what should you be doing if you're at each of those stages?
It's actually the 25 to 54-year-olds that really need to up their game. And of course, universities and colleges and high schools should be teaching every child everything they know about every generation of this technology because it is changing fast, and learn how to use it so it isn't used against you.
Armin, Martin, Ciel, Dr. Mamdani, Jeff, thank you very much.
Yeah, she wasn't like super leftist or anything, but like as an economist, I really don't have any critique of what she said. It was all accurate. And then there's like some sort of bone marrow related thing, and I hope that works out nicely for them. Right? Like, I don't have anything, negative to say about what they said. Like, it seems accurate. Oh, speaking of saying negative things, I think that's going to wrap it for today. What is my man doing? No. I was gonna raid Astro Canuck, but they're like doing henna to their head or something. No Gray's up. Alright, we'll raid No Gray. It's always my pleasure. I hope everyone appreciated it. Are they having stream problems? I don't know. We're going to raid. We'll see how it goes. Flexibility is key. Go easy. Yeah, I'll be back on Friday. If you enjoyed the thing, show up on Friday. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern. This is the stream. This is what I do. Sometimes it's more fun, and sometimes it's more angry, and sometimes it's more whatever, depending on, what we're touching. But it's usually not angry. It's an educational space. Sometimes people piss me off when they lie. Don't lie. Don't misrepresent. Be honest, and everything will be great. In the meantime, and Ferris loves you as well. Drink some water. Eat some food. Take your meds if you forgot. Shoggy loves you. So do I. Be good.